All right, folks, of course, the breaking news is the crash of Malaysia Airlines Boeing 777 with 295 people aboard, reportedly a number of Americans as well. We will bring you the latest as we go along throughout the course of the show. Liz Cheney, former Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Near Eastern Affairs and co-founder of the Alliance for a Strong America, of course, daughter of former Vice President Dick Cheney. She will be here in just a few moments to talk about this and why it's important that America remain strong. Then the Malzberg panel will talk about it all with co-host of Steele and Unger on SiriusXM, Rick Unger, and columnist for Breitbart.com and American thinker C. Edmund Wright. Then Roger Simon, co-founder and CEO of PJ Media, and also he will discuss with us Israel and Obama's border mess. All that, you got your Give Me Five and oh, so much more on this hour of the Steve Malzberg Show.
Ready? Fire away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City. A fusion of politics, commentary, entertainment, and sports. Steve and his team bring you the latest news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, breaking news, as you are well aware of, and we might want to call it developing news because this story is developing and will be developing throughout the course of this show and beyond. And we have once again, Malaysia Airlines, and this time a Boeing 777 with, as I mentioned, 295 people aboard, going down in eastern Ukraine near the Russian border. Flight MH17 from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur, 280 passengers, 15 crew members on board, had its last known position over Ukrainian airspace. Malaysian Airlines saying they had lost contact with the jumbo jet, and the reports are that the jet went down or was hit possibly with a missile. Speculation is still out there. There's no confirmed report citing that it was a missile strike, but it was at 33,000 feet. Now, we do have various reports. The Ukraine, as you heard if you were listening to Ed Berliner and I chat, one Interior Minister spokesman said that, Internal Affairs spokesman in Ukraine said that it was down by a Russian rocket. That is unconfirmed. We do not know that. There's also reports that the manifest shows about 22 Americans on board that plane. The State Department has refused to officially comment and weigh in and say that that is absolutely accurate. Still trying to put the pieces together. There is a video. There are videos of the plane blowing up upon hitting the ground, leading one CNN expert to comment that if it was hit by a missile at 33,000 feet, you wouldn't see one site with the smoke rising. You would have seen, lots of pieces of that plane breaking up upon impact from the missile. However, many others have weighed in and do say that it has all the earmarkings of a missile strike. Now, Ukrainians are also claiming that a cargo plane, a military cargo plane, was downed by Russia or Russian separatists on Monday. There's also a report that posted on the Russian version of Facebook, the leader of the Russian separatist movement, who is the minister, the self-proclaimed defense minister of the Donetsk People's Republic, Igor Girkin, wrote on his account, "We did warn you, do not fly in our sky." Now, this came before the MH17 was reportedly shot down, so there's all kinds of speculation out there, all kinds of guesses, and that's what it is right now. It's a guessing game. There was also another report that these Russian separatists would not let anybody near the wreckage of the plane, and that they had the black box, or black boxes, as the case may be. Now the rebels are saying, we do not have the black boxes. So this is ongoing. What struck me as strange is President Obama's comments. He spoke, he's at an event, there was great speculation he would say something, shed some light on this, and he managed maybe 30 seconds on it, and just said that we have here what could turn out to be a great tragedy. Well, again, it's already a great tragedy, whether it was intentionally done or whether it was an accident of some kind. If he knows what happened, he's not telling us. There were reports earlier that the president spoke to Vladimir Putin on the phone. The purpose of that phone call was to talk about the sanctions against Russia that the president announced yesterday. And during the course of that conversation, the president and Vladimir Putin discussed the downing of the plane. So what was said, if anything, I don't know, because the president did not reference that conversation in the remarks he made. But saying we have here, and I'm paraphrasing, we have here what could turn out to be a great tragedy, I don't know what that means exactly, but it sounds like he knows more than he's saying, because obviously it's a great tragedy. I mean, almost 300 people are believed dead in whatever happened. 295 people actually on board the Malaysia flight. And, you know, conspiracy theorists now could have a field day, as they did with the missing Malaysian Airlines plane. I had one friend ask me if this could possibly have been the missing plane being used as a missile. But that's obviously not the case, because this was a scheduled flight and it had 295 people on board. And you might ask yourself, if you want to quote from a song from the Talking Heads, you may ask yourself, why are these planes flying in this danger zone? This is a regularly scheduled flight that takes the same course every single day. Would you get on a passenger jet that flies over the Ukrainian-Russian border at this time? I just don't understand how that's, you know, been allowed to continue, but it has been allowed to continue. So that's where we are. That's where we are, and that's the situation as far as we know it right now. You could see there on the screen the smoke coming up from the site of the crash. And again, if a missile hit that plane at 33,000 feet, okay, would there be one? And again, we don't see in that video the plane hitting, but would there be one area from which smoke was rising to indicate that, you know, the bulk of the plane was there? Or if you strike a plane with a missile, surface-to-air missile, at 33,000 feet, would that plane not have significant, not only would the impact break it up, but it would not have significant time to break up almost completely as it was coming down from that height? Again, questions that I am not qualified to answer for you, but hopefully questions that will be answered in the not-too-distant future. 295 dead, and the speculation, and it's amazing to watch the different people, the different commentators weigh in, the so-called experts weigh in with their own theories and their own speculative scenarios of exactly what might have taken place. And if indeed, let's map out a couple of possibilities here. If this was a missile, you know, this leads us back to ISIS. You know, there's all kinds of reports that ISIS has access to these kinds of missiles. I'm not saying ISIS was responsible here, but I'm saying it certainly puts at risk. It certainly puts at risk and should send shivers up and down the spine of the airline industry. Future flights, if these kinds of missiles are out there, if these kinds of capabilities exist in the hands of terrorists and terrorist groups. But let's stick to this for a second here. Was this a Russian separatist attack? Well, if it was, what's going to be done about it? And by whom? Was this a Russian military mistake? Was this a Russian military mistake? Don't forget the Korean airliner that was shot down back in the 80s. And I'm not saying that was a mistake or not, but I'm asking the question here. If this turns out, could the President of the United States, when he said this, what we have here, it seems it's going to be turning into a great tragedy, could that have been from something Putin said? Could this turn out to be a terrible accident? I don't know. And what would the repercussions be if it was a Russian-made rocket? Again, if it's a Russian-made rocket, chances are, and it did hit the plane, then chances are it was fired by the separatists and not by officially, quote unquote, the Russian government. But some might ask, well, what's really the difference, between those two? And could the separatists have had these weapons, had these missiles, had this capability without Russian support and Russia's blessing? So again, all these questions remain unanswered. But the Ukrainian president, just so you know, is calling this a terrorist act. He is saying that this is a terrorist act, according to reports that I have seen as we come on to air on the Steve Malzberg show right now at this point. So again, it's a lot more than our president said. And one other thing, if we could show that video again, can we roll the video of the smoldering of the wreckage of the plane? And you're going to see something that's very interesting. You're going to see now watch it, and I think you're going to get to see here, if we roll it long enough, you'll actually see some what looks like debris almost going up. And I don't know if we're going to get close enough to that. I'm told that that's a natural response to that kind of crash, where on impact you get debris just shooting up into the air, hundreds and hundreds of feet high into the air, and it looks like it's showering up almost before it then again streams down. So there's nothing irregular or abnormal about that. And if you don't see it in this video here, maybe it'll be in video that we roll down the line in the future. So don't let that confuse you. But you could see all the way to the right on the bottom. You see that's where it's coming from. If there were a missile, if it were a missile strike, would there not have been a plume of some sort from the missile itself? And would there not again have been several sites where the debris had been falling as opposed to apparently this one area? And these are questions that are going to have to be answered. Now, I don't know if the National Transportation and Safety Board is going to be allowed into this area to investigate. Of course, there are reported to be over 20 Americans on board that plane, so maybe, just maybe, they will be able to do it. Fox News is reporting that it was a surface-to-air missile that took the plane down. We will keep you informed as we go along throughout the course of the Steve Malzberg show. When we come back, it's going to be the Malzberg panel. You know it, you love it. So keep it tuned right here. If you want to weigh in, ladies and gentlemen, on this story or anything else, give us your theory on social media. Here's how you can do it.
Do you sleep too hot while your partner sleeps too cool? Do you struggle to sleep at the right temperature? Now Sleep Number has a solution that's as revolutionary as its beds. Introducing the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer. The amazing Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer allows both of you to select your ideal temperature for better sleep. The Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer works with any mattress brand. It features Active Air technology, which evenly distributes air to heat and cool each side to the temperature you prefer for head-to-toe comfort. Call or click now for this free $50 savings card and catalog.
My husband and I both prefer different temperatures. He likes to have his side of the bed a little bit warmer, and I like to have mine a little bit cooler, and we are finally sleeping better together.
After sleeping on a dual temp layer, I find that I have such a restful night's sleep that when I wake up in the morning, I am energized and I'm ready for the day.
All night long, you can each enjoy sleep at a temperature that perfectly matches what your body needs for comfortable sleep, so you can sleep better together. In a research study, 75% reported poor sleep because of their sleeping temperature. That's because your body's temperature naturally fluctuates at night. But with the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer, you can sleep comfortably warm or cool. And because the revolutionary Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer helps solve an important sleep problem, it was selected as a very innovative product by Good Housekeeping. Remember, the Sleep Number dual temp layer can be added to any mattress brand, so everyone can enjoy sleeping better at the perfect temperature. Call or click now.
Call 1-800-317-5283 or click now for a free $50 savings card and catalog with price list. For your peace of mind, the Sleep Number dual temp layer comes with a 100-night in-home trial. Call 1-800-317-5283 or click now. That's 1-800-317-5283 for your free $50 savings card and catalog.
Staring contest!
You still got it.
I know.
Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Politics, commentary, entertainment, sports, news, and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back. Time for the Malzberg panel. And joining us once again, co-host of Steele and Unger on Sirius XM, Rick Unger, and columnist for Breitbart.com and American thinker, C. Edmund Wright. And gentlemen, let's start with you, Rick, and ask you to speculate like everybody else is speculating. I mean, any way you look at it, this is just horrifically frightening news.
It's horrible. It's getting harder and harder to believe that it was some sort of an accident. I think we're going to find out it was a surface-to-air missile, and I suspect we're going to find out it was fired by Russian separatists who may have made a mistake and thought it was a Ukrainian airline and shot down a Malaysian airline. The thing is, if there were, in fact, 23 Americans on that plane, as has been reported, that turns this into an entirely different thing. And as I said to you before we went on, Steve, if you want to see a liberal turn into a hawk, you're going to see it if that was the case.
What about it, Edmund?
I mean, I agree pretty much with all of that. And I will say that most of these flights from Amsterdam are connecting from, a lot of them are, picking up passengers from New York and Atlanta. So chances are there were some Americans on that flight, going to Kuala Lumpur. The other thing I'd say is I'm reminded of what happened in 1939 in Poland. There was some violence blamed on the Polish nationals, and it was used as an excuse by the Germans to move in and invade Poland at the beginning of World War II. Now I'm a long way from saying that's what happened here, but I got to tell you, it's about the same part of the world. 75 years since that happened. Does anyone really think Putin is potentially above that? I mean, I don't know if we'll ever prove it, but I don't think anyone will ever put that.
You may not even have to go that far to make the connection, simply because you've got to ask the question, if this was a surface-to-air missile that could shoot down a plane at 33,000 feet, that's a pretty intense weapon, and that weapon had to come from somewhere, and I think we all know where it may have come from.
And that would be Russia?
Russia.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt. Like I said earlier, if it was the Russian separatists, or if it was a Russian soldier or defense person who pushed the wrong button or the right button by accident or not, either way, it traces back to Russia.
Yeah.
Right, Edmund? I mean, no, these separatists if it was a Russian missile and they're the Russian separatists, they got it from Russia.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, that's pretty much, I guess there could be a fluke occurrence to make, something else be the result of that. But yeah, obviously it points right back to Russia. And again, they're going to have a hard time, I think, convincing people that it was an accident. A lot depends on what Russia does from now on as far as how people will view this.
I'm not sure we should care if we do believe it was an accident. When you play that game, when you start firing missiles at commercial aircraft, there's no accident there. You may have not hit the one that you intended, but you intended to kill some innocent people.
Rick, I'm not going after you here, believe me, because we're all in this together, and we're all outraged at what happened, and especially with Americans reportedly on board. But you say turn this liberal into a hawk. How so? I mean, first of all, we understand that Putin and Obama already spoke about this. That was the initial report. They haven't, unless that was erroneous, they spoke. It was originally about the sanctions, and Putin informed him of what happened. Then the president comes out, and in 30 seconds of talking about it, says, it looks like we have what's going to be a tragedy. And I don't know what that means exactly, but it sounds like he got an explanation from Putin. So, I mean, is the president going to go military on us?
Well, actually, what I heard was that at the end of the conversation, as you just said, Putin did inform him that it had taken place. I suspect the president correctly, isn't going to say much until he has the facts. Right now, you can be sure that we are sifting through the satellite images. We have a satellite parked over that region of the world 24 hours a day. We're going to be able to see the trail if there was a missile that was fired at this plane, and I think that's what they'll see. I think the president's going to be smart. Now, you ask, do we go military on it? Look, where I always draw the line when it comes to, I'm a big believer in international restraint, but you shoot down Americans, somebody's got to pay the price for that. And whatever it takes, we need to bring those who were responsible either to justice or to their end.
All right, I do have a report here as we have developing news on this story. According to FoxNews.com, the advisor to Ukraine's interior minister said that the Boeing 777 was shot down at a cruising altitude of about 35 miles from the border. He said all 280 passengers and 15 crew members were killed. A Reuters correspondent saw burning wreckage and bodies strewn across a 9-mile debris field. And there's Ralph Peters, our friend who works, of course, for Fox as their strategic analyst, said it wasn't the separatists, although Russia will try to blame them or blame the Ukrainians. Edmund?
What's he basing it
Wow.
on?
I guess opinion at this point.
Yeah. I mean, as far as 295 people, of course, no one walks away from this. So of course they're all dead. It's terrible tragedy. I'm interested why they would say it's Russian but not Russian separatist. Again, some people know a lot more than I do about that part of the world.
Well, that's the opinion. That's the opinion of Ralph Peters. That wasn't the Ukrainian spokesperson.
It should be noted. It should be noted. And this is, again, you have to call this speculation. But some quality sources have indicated that one of the top generals of the separatists has taken responsibility for it and said it was a mistake. They thought they were firing at a Ukrainian plane. Again, still speculation, even though the sources seem pretty good. I think it might be a little bit too soon for Peters to suggest.
Well, one of the leaders of the separatist gentlemen posted on the equivalent of the Russian Facebook right before this actually occurred, something to the effect of, "We've warned you not to fly into our skies." Now, some are saying that might have been a response to the downing of a Ukrainian military cargo plane on Monday, and that this was a coincidence. But again, speculation will continue on this. But Edmund, if this was, if this can be pinned on somebody, if Russia or the separatists, how does the U.S. react if there are 20 dead Americans?
Wow, that is above my pay grade. Let's just hope we're not sending Eric Holder to get to the bottom of it. Because we never will.
Let's not go there. This is a serious conversation. We go get the people who did it.
Well,
that's what we do, and I don't care how we do it, but we go get them.
All right. Well, let's leave it there. And when we come back, I do want to not bring in Eric Holden necessarily, but I want you all to hear something that was said by Jonathan Turley yesterday, testifying before Congress about the feasibility of the Boehner lawsuit. And again, we'll keep you updated throughout the show on the latest of the Malaysia flight crashing on the Ukrainian border with 295 people on board, including reportedly over 20 Americans. Stay tuned for part 2 of the Malzberg panel coming up right here on the Steve Malzberg Show.
I've got a small business, and everybody said you should be promoting it with Facebook.
Well, I use Facebook for myself, but I had no idea how to use it for my plumbing business.
Then I heard about web.com.
They told me they would build a professional Facebook page for my business free.
So I gave them a call.
And then they built me a Facebook page for free. I couldn't believe it.
If you call web.com now, you can have a new Facebook page built for your small business free. We even write posts for your Facebook page that will get people talking about you.
It's like I have this whole big social media department for my business.
Call now and web.com will build your new Facebook page free. Then we'll continue to bring you new fans, write posts for you, and report on results, all for one low monthly fee. If not, cancel and pay nothing.
Now people call me and say, "I found you on Facebook." How cool is that?
You say it, we build it free.
Call 1-855-235-7998 today.
Meet Mary. She loves to shop online with her debit card. And so does Bill. an identity thief who stole Mary's identity, took over her bank accounts, and stole her hard-earned money. Unfortunately, millions of Americans just like you learn all it may take is a little misplaced information to wreak havoc on your life. This is identity theft, and no one helps stop it better than LifeLock. LifeLock offers the most comprehensive identity theft protection available. If Mary had LifeLock's bank account alerts, she may have been notified before it was too late. LifeLock's credit notification service is on the job 24/7. As soon as they detect a threat to your identity within their network, they will alert you, protecting you before the damage is done. LifeLock has the most comprehensive identity theft protection available, guarding your social security number, your money, your credit, even the equity in your home.
My years as a prosecutor taught me that we all need to protect ourselves from crime. In today's world, that includes identity theft. It's a serious problem. We all have to protect ourselves.
While identity theft can't be completely stopped, no one works harder to protect you than LifeLock. You even get a $1 million service guarantee. That's security no one can beat. You have so much to protect and nothing to lose. When you call LifeLock right now and get 60 days of identity theft protection risk-free. That's right, 60 days risk-free. Use promo code NOTME. Order now and get this document shredder to keep sensitive documents out of the wrong hands. A $29 value, free. Don't wait until you become the next victim. Call 1-800-918-3128 for 60 days of LifeLock identity theft protection risk-free and get a document shredder free. Use promo code NOTME. Call 1-800-918-3128 now.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. The Israeli Defense Force released new footage today showing a tunnel they allege Hamas militants used to infiltrate their country this morning. Israeli airstrikes hit 13 Hamas fighters at the tunnel as they appeared to be crossing the southern Israel. Israeli President Shimon Peres says this is Hamas's method to bring the fight closer to Israeli civilians. Meanwhile, in Gaza, hospital workers are refusing evacuation orders to stay with their patients. The staff is made up of international volunteers. The hospital director says taking his patients out of the hospital would be life-threatening. The Gaza Health Ministry estimates at least 230 Palestinians have been killed in the conflict so far. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
I'll tell her. All right, folks, welcome back. Part 2 of the panel. By the way, Liz Cheney, we had a miscommunication with Liz Cheney. She will join us on Monday on the Steve Malzberg Show. She will kick off the show with us on Monday, and by then, of course, we'll know a lot more about what's going on with the Malaysian airline. I do want to change topics as we welcome back Rick Unger and C. Edmund Wright. I want you to watch part of the testimony from Jonathan Turley yesterday before Congress.
The natural reason cited by James I is very close to the reasons that you're hearing coming out of the administration, that these changes make the law better, that they make it more efficient, more fair. That's not the issue. I happen to support most of the changes that President Obama has ordered. I voted for him in 2008. This is not a question of what should be done. It is a question of how it should be done, and more importantly, who should do it.
All right, Jonathan Turley, one of the foremost constitutional scholars in the country, voted for Barack Obama, says he likes Barack Obama, says he actually favors what he's trying to do, but he's not the one to do it. And, Edmund, he compared him to King James and with the line of reasoning for unilaterally doing things. And that was, to me, that was quite significant.
Yeah, King James, does that mean that we're going to have the Barack Obama Bible coming out? No,
that's a scary thought.
I find Turley an interesting contradiction. I mean, he's clearly a liberal. He's also clearly a constitutional scholar and a historian. And I understand that he wants these policy goals. What really kind of miffed me about that, well, first of all, we're in a bizarro world. Jonathan Turley, says this is a good idea, and Mark Levin says it's a bad idea. But anyway, Jonathan Turley talking about having a lot of respect for for President Obama. And yet, clearly now he says Barack Obama needs to be reined in. I'm sorry, I'm not a noted historian, but I could have told you in 2008, Jonathan Hurley, that he would needed to be reined in.
Rick?
Well, look, I mean, I'm interested in this lawsuit from a lawyer's perspective. I think it's going to be extremely hard to get standing in this case. I think there's just some serious built-in problems. Number one, the courts really don't like to get involved in these kinds of political battles between the other two branches. You can get past that. The biggest problem that I see on standing is that after, and this is going to all be about the president moving the mandate for companies, corporations, by a year. The problem here is after the president did that, the House went ahead and voted on that and voted to do the same thing. Therefore, I'm not sure how they make out a case that they've been damaged when they're on record with a vote. And if you're not damaged, you don't have standing. But let's say in the lower court, anyhow, they can get past it and get standing. I think on the merits, they're going to have a very difficult time. The other problem that I think they're going to run into, look, this is obviously, there's a political intent behind this, and I think it's going to be so technical that it's not going to catch fire with the public. So all in all, I don't know if it was the best move.
All right, we shall see. And I want to thank both of you gentlemen for participating and sticking around on this busy news day. Thank you both, Rick Unger and, of course, C. Edmund Wright. We'll speak to you both again very, very soon. All right, folks, we will be back, and we will bring you the latest details of the downing of Malaysian Airlines 777 on the Ukrainian border. 295 people died in that crash. And first, though, we take a look at this hour's American Moment, and it takes a look back at President Gerald Ford and his road to the White House.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
It was a stirring moment. Never before had a president resigned and another man risen to the nation's highest office. On August 9, 1974, Gerald R. Ford was sworn in as the country's 38th president. It was a time in the nation rocked by scandal. The same day, August 9, 1974, the House Judiciary Committee passed articles of impeachment against then-President Richard M. Nixon. That same day, Richard Nixon resigned, and Vice President Ford was hastily sworn in as Commander-in-Chief by Chief Justice Warren Burger. Soon after taking office, Gerald Ford ended the Watergate prosecution by granting Richard Nixon a full and unconditional pardon to the fallen president with this decree.
My fellow Americans, our long national nightmare is over.
On October 17, 1974, President Ford agreed to appear before Congress to defend his historic decision.
I was absolutely convinced then, as I am now, that if we had had this series, an indictment, a trial, a conviction, and anything else that transpired after that, that the attention of the President, the Congress, and the American people would have been diverted from the problems that we have to solve.
Historians have lauded President Ford's political courage in granting the pardon, but the move was widely believed to have cost him the presidency in 1976, when he was defeated by former Georgia Governor Jimmy Carter. For Newsmax TV, I'm Bill Curtis, and this is an American Moment.
When Bob got into the accident, I was terrified. His injuries were so severe, but once we knew he was going to be okay, what then?
I couldn't go back to work for a long time, and we got way behind on our bills.
We had hired an attorney, but when our case kept dragging on, we didn't know how we were going to get by. Thankfully, our attorney knew about Oasis Legal Finance.
Oasis looked at our case and got us the money the very next day.
What a relief it was. We didn't have to wait until our case settled, and the money from Oasis helped us when we needed it most.
At first, I wasn't so sure. What if we lost the case? How would we be able to pay back Oasis? But then I found out if we did lose, we wouldn't have to pay them back, so there was no risk in doing it. No risk.
If you were involved in an accident and hired an attorney to fight for the compensation you deserve but need money now before your case settles, then call Oasis today. Oasis has given millions of dollars to people like you who need money fast while waiting for their case to settle. There's no risk, so call now.
I was hurt badly in a car accident just after my wife gave birth. We were counting on the cash from my lawsuit to get caught up, but the case took forever.
Honestly, we didn't know what we were going to do. Then we saw an Oasis TV commercial and called. We were approved and got money from Oasis the next day.
Not in a week, the very next day.
I was hurt at work and filed a workers' comp claim. I called Oasis and they gave me the cash I needed. Unfortunately, I ended up losing my case, but Oasis let us keep the money. They kept their promise, and we didn't need to pay them back.
There are no out-of-pocket costs and no payments until your case is settled. If you lose your case, you don't have to repay Oasis. There's no risk. Call Oasis now to see how much money you can get before your case settles.
Call now, 1-800-562-8184. 1-800-562-8184. 1-800-562-8184.
Hi, my name is John Bachman. I'm 34 years old, and I'm an anchor at Newsmax TV, and there's no place else I'd rather be. There is so much gloom and doom out there right now. People want to talk about problems, but that's changing. The conversation is changing. People want to talk now about solutions, and that is what Newsmax offers. I mean, if there's somebody who is going to contribute something to the conversation, we're going to try to talk to them.
Politics, commentary, entertainment, sports, news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back. We have breaking news in the crash of Malaysia Airlines Boeing 777 today, with 295 people aboard, going down in eastern Ukraine near the Russian border. The Ukrainian government is now saying, according to CNN, that they have recordings of terrorists on the telephone discussing a shoot down. I don't have any word whether or not that was before or after the downing of the Malaysian airliner. And furthermore, the Ukrainian officials are blaming officially pro-Russian separatists with missiles, as they say, and they hold Vladimir Putin responsible for the downing of the plane. So that's according to CNN. The UK has asked for a United Nations Security Council meeting to discuss the crash, according to CNN. So that's the latest right now. Joining us now is Roger Simon, co-founder and CEO emeritus of PJ Media, and award-winning novelist. Hello, Roger.
Hi, Steve. Interesting day all over the world.
Yeah, very, very interesting day. Very scary times that we live in, obviously. I don't know what, I mean, there are reportedly over 20 Americans on this plane as well, which brings it all that closer to home, although the State Department has not confirmed that number or any number. What's your read on this? What's your theory on this?
I don't have much that you just said. I mean, obviously the first look is at these Russian-backed separatists, but I think a global thing is going on here, and this more than anything, I will catch Benjamin Netanyahu's attention, because it is time just to do away with terrorists and take the gloves off. No more Mr. Nice Guy. It's over. Well,
yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. And certainly when you allow terrorists to have rockets and you allow terrorists to exist, this is one possible result. And in the case of Hamas and Hezbollah and Islamic Jihad, I don't know what kind of rockets they have, but I know they have tens of thousands of them. So it would be prudent, I would believe, for Benjamin Netanyahu not to, as the reports are, by the way, Roger, and I'd love to get your take on this. We had on and off reports all day that even though the 5-hour ceasefire today was violated by Hamas, there's a permanent, quote-unquote, ceasefire being planned for tomorrow that the Israelis have accepted, and now they're again waiting on word from Hamas. But I think the elimination of Hamas is the only answer.
I totally agree, but I'm also suspicious of the ceasefire. First of all, Hamas doesn't know how to do that. Secondly, at the same time, there are huge reports of now 100,000 leaflets hitting this morning in Gaza, urging the civilians to move into the cities. So I think and they just added 8,000 more IDF reserves.
Reservists.
I have a suspicion. A lot of people who are in on this stuff, on emails that I get, and I'm very close to this subject, think that there will be a ground war very soon.
Well, this also gives, and I hate to think like this, and I hate to speculate about this because it shouldn't even be necessary, but you've seen the media reaction. This is going to take the tote board off of the CNNs of the world, where they have Palestinians killed on one side of the screen, and then the Israeli side won, and they lament the fact that this isn't fair. This is going to provide cover of sorts for Netanyahu to, if he has the stomach to do it, to go do what he has to do while the world is focused on something else.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Also, I couldn't agree more that tote board is one of the phoniest demonstrations of bourgeois leftism and idiocy that one could imagine. I mean, come on. All those people are such bloody hypocrites. I mean, they would all, they all would be delighted to be staying in Israel, but none of them would want to stay in Gaza for 10 minutes. It's a hellhole. It's a hellhole because of Hamas. Every death that takes place in Gaza is because of Hamas. There wouldn't be any deaths in Gaza from Israelis if Hamas didn't do what they did. Wouldn't have be one.
And not only that,
it's a phony tote board. I mean, it's just garbage.
If they want to be fair about the tote board, they should at least distinguish between the admitted. I mean, Hamas admits that 60 or 70 or whatever a percentage of the Palestinians killed are terrorists or militants, whatever the media wants to call them. But they lump them all together as one.
Yes, I mean, it's just junk. I mean, but the fact, look, Hamas is doing what Hamas does, but it's the fact that people like CNN eat it up. It's reprehensible and really bad for the world and bad for themselves.
All right, Roger, we have more breaking news because I have all the TVs on in front of me here, and I give credit where credit's due. And you are a predictor, my friend. According to CNN, Israel has initiated a ground offensive in Gaza. This is breaking as you and I speak, sir.
Well, there you go. I'm Nostradamus. I got an email a little bit ahead of the game, but that's it.
There you go. And guess who CNN is bringing on to analyze this and put it all in perspective? In my view, one of the biggest anti-Israel voices in the media today, Christiane Amanpour. Isn't that appropriate?
Well, thank God not a lot of people watch CNN. I hope soon more people will be watching Newsmax and CNN. Certainly more people are watching Fox. We all know it. Christiana,
and Roger, hopefully even more than that, are watching right now on Newsmax television. But let me ask you this: the president yesterday, when he spoke, Israel has a right to defend herself, no doubt about that. Blah 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 blah. And I was waiting for it, and it came. But there's always the but from this administration, isn't there?
There is. Exercise restraint. In other words, prostrate yourself. Get killed, and then we'll love you. There's a famous old expression that Europe will never forgive the Jews for Auschwitz.
Yeah. All right, let me move on real quick here to the border situation. And once again, unfortunately, we have to mention the name Barack Obama. The media now, which was critical at first, at least to an extent, why isn't he going to the border? Now they've turned their attention on those who legitimately bring up concerns about health risks, about gang members and gang risks and crime risks and infiltrating these neighborhoods where these kids are going to be shipped to. And they're saying, oh, this is just a bunch of they said it about the Jews when they came to this country. They said it about the Irish. They said it about this. As a matter of fact, now I hear that Nicaragua has a better vaccination rate than the United States, or Guatemala, or one of them. This is the spin the liberal media is now putting on all of this.
Well, the real spin should be this. Interesting link on Drudge yesterday to that Insider magazine. If people remember that was the magazine that was started by the late Mr. al-Awlaki, the jihadist from America who went to Yemen and then got zapped.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that fancy. Insider is a kind of trendy jihad magazine, if you can imagine such a thing, that tries to get young, impressionable kids to join the jihad. And the big recommendation this month is to terrorize and blow up the U.S. Open. I happen to be a tennis player and take this personally. However, I mean, when I read that, I thought, oh, well, here's a thriller that Hollywood will never make. A guy slips over this totally porous border and blows up the U.S. Open right in the middle of Djokovic versus Nadal, and the entire stock market sinks, and the whole country goes to pot. Because if anyone actually did that in the middle of the U.S. Open, it would be unbelievable, the ramifications.
Oh my God!
But,
oh my God! Absolutely, yeah.
What is being left? That's the biggest of all the issues of that border. We are, you know, you have to look at Hamas trying to send those people in that tunnel yesterday into Israel, and they all got killed, fortunately. Well, they're all over the place there. They're picking up Korans on the border and prayer shawls. Let's get real. I mean,
I've
yeah,
seen
an
those
epidemic's
reports,
bad
yeah.
enough, but that's like the end of civilization.
And by the way, you're absolutely right that the U.S. Open, although I heard there's no specific threat, which is what they always love to say, and thank God there's not. Well, maybe it'd be better if there was. They could combat it better. But the U.S. Open, they're actively campaigning. The terrorists are. They're urging on their websites and in their magazines. I can't believe I'm saying that. They're actually urging that that jihadists around the world target the U.S. Open in New York City in September. You're absolutely right.
It's terrifying.
Hey, Roger.
I mean, I've been to the Open a couple of times. I mean, it's a great event, but besides the fact it's crowded as hell, and if anything happened, it'd be a stampede like you'd never seen before.
Oh, well, not only that, God forbid. God forbid. And I used to cover it all the time in my sports days, absolutely. Hey, Roger, great to talk to you as always, sir. Thank you very much.
Great to be here. Good luck.
All right, thank you. All right, folks, so now we have Israel launching a ground offensive in Gaza, and we have the Malaysian airliner going down. Busy, busy news day. We will bring it all to you throughout the Steve Malzberg Show, so you don't need to go anywhere else. Coming up next, though, we digress for just a second or two with Gimme 5, actually for 5 minutes with Gimme 5. Don't go away.
Hi, I'm Jean, and this is my one and only Henry. We just love scouring flea markets for special treasures. But with my type 2 diabetes, we now spend all the time at the pharmacy. With Medcare, I don't have to. They deliver everything I need right to my door with free shipping. Plus, Medcare takes private policies, Medicaid, even my Medicare. Sleep apnea machines, nebulizers. Medcare has all the finest medical supplies. The best part, Medcare saves us money. Medcare allows us the time to do the things we love. Medcare, we deliver a better life.
I'm at St. Jude because I had a cancer inside of me. They diagnosed me with a brain tumor. You have to be strong and don't give up. Attitude is everything. You have to fight.
Imagine your doctor tells you your child has cancer with only months to live. Where would you go? What would you do? Who would you turn to? Fortunately, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is fighting every day to save children's lives. And with a gift of just $19 a month, you can join the fight.
This is my kid that they're giving back to me. I am so grateful.
At St. Jude, no family ever receives a bill. In fact, no family pays St. Jude for anything. That's why your gift of $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, is so important.
When I thought that I might lose my son, they gave me hope.
You are not only saving a child's life, you're breathing life back into that family.
If I hadn't have come here, I wouldn't have my son.
St. Jude's life-saving research and treatment is shared freely with hospitals around the world.
St. Jude gives you hope and happiness. They're helping us live. Maybe in the future, kids won't have to go through this. we'll find a cure and it'll all be over.
Please, call and become a St. Jude Partner in Hope right now.
Have you or your son taken the drug Risperdal? Risperdal has been linked with gynecomastia, a serious condition that causes boys and young men to grow female breast tissue. If you or your son develop breast after taking Risperdal, take action fast. You may be entitled to substantial compensation. Call the Risperdal Alert Helpline right now for a free, discreet evaluation of your claim. Many cases have already been settled out of court, so call us right now. Call the number on your screen today and let us help you get the compensation you deserve.
Mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at 58 years old. 8 years into the disease was when all the light went out.
For me, it was heart-wrenching.
Looking into the eyes of somebody with Alzheimer's, sometimes you just don't see the person's soul is like gone.
And it takes a toll on everyone. I mean, it's a depressing disease to watch unfold before your eyes.
She actually thought those of us who were caring for her and who loved her most were her worst enemies.
More and more responsibilities fell on my shoulders.
This disease just ravages a family.
It changes your life.
The magnitude of it is indescribable. My mother taught me to be in the moment.
We have to live in the moment with them.
And I'm going to be with that person right now in this moment, wherever she is.
Now is the moment. If we work together, we can stop this epidemic.
Contact Bright Focus and learn more.
There's a growing crisis in our system, a shifting of the balance of power within the tripartite system in favor of a now dominant chief executive. While both Congress and the courts have lost authority over the decades, it is this body, the Congress, that has lost the most in this rise of a type of Uber presidency.
An Uber presidency. Welcome to Give Me Five, ladies and gentlemen. Jonathan Turley, Georgetown University law professor, one of the greatest constitutional scholars our country has, a man who voted for Barack Obama, scolding Congress that they had better do something. They have lost control of part of their power, constitutionally approved and dedicated power to the executive branch, something that he says has taken place over many years, but has been exacerbated right now with this president in the White House. Watch.
I don't believe the president has a desire for tyrannical authority. I don't question his motivations. I question his means. Our system is changing, and this body is the one branch that must act if we are to reverse those changes. We're seeing the emergence of a different model of government, a model long ago rejected by the framers. A dominant presidency has occurred with very little congressional opposition. Indeed, when President Obama pledged to circumvent Congress, he received rapturous applause from the very body that he was proposing to make practically irrelevant. Now many members are contesting the right of this institution to even be heard from a system that is in crisis.
A system in crisis. The body's moving from self-loathing to self-destruction. These are very serious words.
The president's pledge to effectively govern alone is alarming, and what is most alarming is his ability to fulfill that pledge. When a president can govern alone, he can become a government unto himself, which is precisely the danger the framers sought to avoid. What we're witnessing today is one of the greatest crises that I expect the members of this body will face. It has a patina of politics that is hard to penetrate. It did not start with President Obama. I was critical of his predecessor, and certainly this goes back long before George Bush, but it has reached a tipping point.
Yes, indeed, and I want to get all this in, so watch this.
Ultimately, what we're debating here is something the framers were very much familiar with. Before we came together as a nation, we had history of our predecessors in England with King James, who argued that he had a royal prerogative.
Obama asking James. Watch. There you go. There you go. The person is using civil reasoning to King James. And this is something we go out for this country. Sadly, on people all the time. Don't go away.
No matter how you provide your family today, if you know first, your neighbors, what have you on? Will they pills? They don't have.
We'll help you get more for your money, up to 70% more. Just look, less than $14 a month is what you can get from other companies for the same price. No wonder millions of people rely on AIG companies. The call is free, the quote is free, and there's no obligation. Make the future more secure for those you love. Call now so you can sleep better at night.
For a free quote, call 1-800-558-5246 or visit AIGdirect.com.
Excuse me. What do you think you'd pay for this smartphone?
A few hundred.
That's top of the line. More like $425. More like $9.
That's not possible.
It is on DealDash.com. See, DealDash.com is the fair and honest bidding site. This top-of-the-line laptop went for around $40.
That can't be. Incredible.
I know. Everyone says it's too good to be true.
But it's true. DealDash.com gets people real savings every day, big savings. And if you're not satisfied, you get your money back. On DealDash.com, professional cameras sell for as low as $15. $50 gift cards go for
We will continue process if we don't deal with the root causes.
Is a serious issue, 14% higher than it was at the beginning of the year. Nearly 60,000 undocumented people, mostly children and teens from Central America, have crossed the southern border in the last 9 months. And another Senate hearing focused on General Motors today. The company is answering to growing reports on product defects in their cars. A report shows the GM's legal counsel did not tell executives and engineers about the problems. Senator Claire McCaskill says GM's chief legal counsel should have been fired. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, folks, it is a day of breaking news, and we will bring it to you and keep you up to date on the developing stories. Two developing stories. Most recently, the Israeli ground invasion of Gaza, and also, of course, the crash of the Malaysian airliner, a 777 with 295 people aboard at the Ukrainian border with Russia. And both of those stories will be updated throughout the course of the Steve Malzberg Show. We'll be talking when we come back. We'll be talking momentarily to Grover Norquist about both those events and some other issues here, as well as the border. Pete Hoekstra, former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee and a former Republican congressman, will discuss the breaking news of the day. Then the road to the White House. Dick Morris will join us, and we will take a look at a possible presidential run by a Texas senator named Ted Cruz. All that, give me five, and more on today and this hour of the Steve Malzberg Show.
Ready? Fire away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City. A fusion of politics, commentary, entertainment, and sports. Steve and his team bring you the latest news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get you brought up to date on the developing stories of the day. Rarely do we have a day with news as unbelievably, I guess the correct word would be not important, but with such impact. First, we have the disaster. Whether it was a natural plane crash caused by internal causes with the airline, or whether it was taken down, as the Ukrainian government believes, by Russian separatists or terrorists, as they call them. But a Malaysian Airlines Boeing 777 with 295 people aboard crashing today, downed in eastern Ukraine near the Russian border. No survivors. Reports are that about 20 Americans were on board that plane, although the State Department has not confirmed it. We have the Ukrainian officials saying they have recordings of Russian separatists talking about the president who's responsible for this government saying they are going to be this, and we will keep the details available. And as was this story is a real story of the bound airliner would provide cover for Israel to launch ground offensive on the civilians of Israel. Well, a moment after I speculated on that question, came breaking news that Israel has finally launched a ground incursion into Hamas. Both of these stories take place within hours of each other, and they both ongoing. Both able to update on all those stories here on CBall just viewers of our news and television. Joining us now is Grover Norquist, president of American Tax Reform. Grover, hey.
Yes, this is
well, so this is the horrific nature of that impression and the possibility that there were 20 Americans on board. This is president virtual truth, and we can announced it. And just say great tragedy has occurred. This report seemed to fill in and say, yeah, separate now, this route was about you or something. But it seemed like he didn't do anything when he spoke.
It's been the coverage for their budget board elections. One of them had a day after looking at the chance of first election.
That's another question. Your questions that is from the authority by the Sharon story. And it's really watching and you see what's important. I'm saying that the when it's possible and it's really the hosting I to go in and do have to let's talk about this over and it just now media is attacking people who are raising concerns about the health implications of this, the economic implications of this, the gang crime implications of this. Oh, this is what I'm trying to basically anybody's concerned. It's really what's going on. What's the reaction to abortion on board? Republicans, they're handling it well.
And NC should read it before he co-sponsors it, has a bill which says we'll extend the internet access ban not permanently, just for maybe 10 years, at which point anybody can raise any taxes they want, in return for taxing internet sales across state lines, something the Supreme Court won't let you do. They want to try and pass a law to make it possible. So it's the worst of both worlds. It trades a temporary protection against one tax in return for a permanent increase of taxing across state lines. And then 10 years from now, and who knows, they may shorten it, they'll come back and start jamming you on internet access. I mean, I don't know who taught Senator Enzi how to negotiate, but wow. This, first of all, it's a very bad bill. But assuming you somehow negotiated to this position, it's awful for taxpayers. This is a declaration of war of anybody used on anyone who uses the internet and computers. It's awful, awful, awful. Now, it's a Senate bill. I don't think it sees the light of day in the House, but you know, why start in the Senate? Why should a Republican put his fingerprints on something?
I don't get it.
Awful.
I don't get it. See, you did educate me. I did not know this, the latter part of that whole deal. So thanks for telling us, and I'm sure a lot of people are now are aware and are not very happy either. Grover, great talking to you. Thanks for joining us on this busy news day, and thanks for weighing in on the issues of the day. I appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
Thank you. Grover Norquist, ladies and gentlemen, President of Americans for Tax Reform. When we come back, Pete Hoekstra, former head of the House Intelligence Committee, will join us. And we now have two topics to talk about with him. The Malaysian Airlines passenger plane going down over Ukraine with 295 people dead, and the Israeli ground war into Gaza. Don't go away.
Do you sleep too hot while your partner sleeps too cool? Do you struggle to sleep at the right temperature? Now Sleep Number has a solution that's as revolutionary as its beds. Introducing the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer. The amazing Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer allows both of you to select your ideal temperature for better sleep. The Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer works with any mattress brand. It features active air technology, which evenly distributes air to heat and cool each side to the temperature you prefer for head-to-toe comfort. Call or click now for this free $50 savings card and catalog.
My husband and I both prefer different temperatures. He likes to have his side of the bed a little bit warmer, and I like to have mine a little bit cooler, and we are finally sleeping better together.
After sleeping on a dual temp layer, I find that I have such a restful night's sleep that when I wake up in the morning, I am energized and I'm ready for the day.
All night long, you can each enjoy sleep at a temperature that perfectly matches what your body needs for comfortable sleep, so you can sleep better together. In a research study, 75% reported poor sleep because of their sleeping temperature. That's because your body's temperature naturally fluctuates at night. But with the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer, you can sleep comfortably warm or cool. And because the revolutionary Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer helps solve an important sleep problem, it was selected as a very innovative product by Good Housekeeping. Remember, the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer can be added to any mattress brand, so everyone can enjoy sleeping better at the perfect temperature. Call or click now.
Call 1-800-317-5283 or click now for a free $50 savings card and catalog with price list. For your peace of mind, the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer comes with a 100-night in-home trial. Call 1-800-317-5283 or click now. That's 1-800-317-5283 for your free $50 savings card and catalog.
Hey, Hard, what's this? That's my resignation. You're resigning? Why? You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit. Oh, I forgot. I'll do better. Please don't quit on me.
Don't let your heart quit on you. Get your uncontrolled high blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late.
Politics, commentary, Berg.
All right, folks, so welcome back. We are joined right now by the former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee and former Republican congressman from the great state of Michigan, Pete Hoekstra. Congressman, welcome, sir.
Hey, it's good to be with you again, Steve.
Well, it's great to talk to you again. We have so much to talk about, and let's start with the first story that broke today, and that's the Malaysian Airlines passenger plane could have been shot down. We don't know for sure. Of course, on the Ukrainian-Russian border, Ukraine believes that it was the Russian separatists who did it, and they blame Vladimir Putin. They claim they have phone conversations taped with who they call terrorists discussing the shoot down, quote unquote. What do you believe the likelihood is, based on what you've ascertained so far, on what happened to that plane?
Oh, I think it's very, very likely that way. I think once you get past the fact that it was shot down, everything else pretty much becomes speculation. Was it actually targeted to be shot down? Did whoever shot it down, did they know it was a passenger plane? Was it a case of mistaken identity? Was it the Ukrainians? Was it the Russians? Was it the rebels? All of that right now, I think, is speculation. Some of it educated speculation, but still speculation.
You know, Congressman, you probably can't see the impact of the plane, okay? You didn't actually see a plane, but the impact, and as opposed to the aftermath with just the smoke. Now we see the impact and the aftermath, and I'm no expert, and I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'll just run it by you and just ask a layman's question. If this was hit by a missile at 33,000 feet, wouldn't it have broken up? Wouldn't we have had all kinds of scattered things coming down instead of like one main boom crash site with the smoke emanating from that site?
Well, I think the wreckage is spread over a fairly significant area, but again, the miss is that it may have hit the engine, which means it may have torn off a wing, but the rest of the airplane could have stayed intact, although the forces of gravity probably would have done something to the plane to have it start falling apart the closer it got to the ground.
Okay, that answers my layman's question from an expert. Thank you. Let me ask you this. I don't know if you heard what the president had to say. I heard reports before the president spoke that the president was made aware. Now, again, I'm just going by what I heard. I don't have independent confirmation. But if the president did speak to Vladimir Putin First about the sanctions. That was the purpose of the phone call that were instituted yesterday by Obama on Russia, some Russian companies, because of the Ukraine situation. And during that conversation, quote unquote, the president was made aware by Putin of the plane going down. And then Obama comes out at this event, and before it starts, he makes 30 seconds worth of comment by saying, you know, our sympathies are with the people. It looks like we have a tragedy that's developing, or it's. I mean, if he knows, let's say it was Russian separatists. Okay, let's play that game. Let's speculate. Putin said, yeah, it was the Russian separatists. They messed up. We messed up. Whatever. I mean,
Well, I'm sure there will be repercussions. There will be actions that this administration will take once they get more facts. But, you know, as Newsmax had an article yesterday, and, you know, what you're seeing here in Ukraine with the shoot down, again, whatever the circumstances are, it shows you how dangerous out of control. That's what happened in this administration in Ukraine. It's what's happening now between Israel and Gaza. And when you have events spinning out of control, you really open up the possibility for these types of tragic events to happen.
Let me ask you this: if in fact, the Ukrainian government is saying terrorists did it, Russian separatists, and they blame Vladimir Putin. How much is saying terrorists did it, Russian separatists, and they blame Vladimir Putin? How much control does Vladimir Putin have over the Russian separatists? Enough to blame him? How much control and giving them weapons and equipment and creating them, if you will, and responsibility does Putin have?
I mean, he has
feeding them, if you will, and responsibility does Putin have?
I mean, he has full responsibility for, putting these kinds of weapons into the hands of the rebels, knowing that when you do that, you're moving it to a military force that doesn't have the command and control structure that you would find in an established military, whether it's the Russian military, the U.S. military, where you've got procedures, protocols, checks and balances all in place. So Putin will bear full responsibility for giving these kinds of weapons, sophisticated weapons, to kind of a ragtag outfit that potentially will be found to be responsible for this. And who's ever responsible for it, I'm sure that they will claim that it was a tragic mistake of mistaken identity.
All right. Well, that being said, I mean, there will be it will be found out who did. I mean, this isn't a missing jet. Like the other Malaysian airline. They're going to know how to. And by the way, this is on the anniversary, believe it or not, of 1997. I'm sorry, not 1997, 1996, July 17th, when the TWA Flight 800 went down. And there are still many witnesses on the record who claim that they saw a missile go up and hit that. But if Putin says it was an accident, blah, 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 we're going to find out who did it. So what do you think an American, we got a minute, and I hope you could stay another segment, if you can, to talk about the Gaza. But what would the United States do to punish Russia for this?
Oh, Steve, I have no idea. This president has been so effective in his leadership in terms of holding people accountable and keeping events under control. So I don't know what this president will do.
I know. It's sad to laugh when, again, when all these lives were lost, and including reportedly as many as 23 Americans on that manifest. We'll have to await official word and State Department confirmation, which we have not gotten. All right, Pete Hoekstra will stick around. One more segment. I do want to talk to him and get his expertise on Israel launching the ground offensive into Gaza just within the past hour after 10 days of bombing the Hamas in the Gaza Strip. We will talk about that. If you want to weigh in, folks, on anything that's going on today, and there's a lot on social media, here's how you do it. Don't go away.
I'm at St. Jude because I had a cancer inside of me. They diagnosed me with a brain tumor. You have to be strong and don't give up. Attitude is everything. You have to fight.
Imagine your doctor tells you your child has cancer with only months to live. Where would you go? What would you do? Who would you turn to? Fortunately, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is fighting every day to save children's lives. And with a gift of just $19 a month, you can join the fight.
This is my kid that they're giving back to me. I am so grateful.
At St. Jude, no family ever receives a bill. In fact, no family pays St. Jude for anything. That's why your gift of $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, is so important.
When I thought that I might lose my son, they gave me hope. You are not only saving a child's life, you're breathing life back into that family.
If I hadn't have come here, I wouldn't have my son.
St. Jude's life-saving research and treatment is shared freely with hospitals around the world.
St. Jude gives you hope and happiness. They're helping us live.
Maybe in the future, kids won't have to go through this. We'll find a cure and it'll all be over.
Please, call and become a St. Jude Partner in Hope right now.
Is your property a jungle choked with overgrown saplings and brush? Take back your land with a DR Field and Brush Mower. Nothing stops the DR. Thick grass and weeds, out-of-control brush, briars, or canes, even 3-inch thick trees are no match for America's favorite brush mower. Lock it in and rip it up. Clear it out, clean it up, and rediscover the land you've lost. And with optional attachments, the self-propelled DR Field and Brush Mower converts into a finish mower, a snow thrower, a portable chipper, or a grater blade. It's a field and brush cutter and so much more.
Call 1-800-456-2023 for a free buyer's guide and DVD. You'll learn how you can try a DR at home for 6 months for as low as $58 a month and get free shipping. Hurry, this offer won't last. Call 1-800-456-2023. Online at drfieldbrush.com.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. 2 bomb attacks in Iraq shook a Baghdad market today. At least 11 people were killed in the blast. The attack targeted one of the most popular places for residents to shop for various items. The market has become a more frequent location for bombings in the past decade. Baghdad has seen an increase in small-scale attacks in recent weeks. And we've got new advancements in the medical field to report. Pacemakers of the future may actually be made from real heart cells. Scientists are working to develop a biological pacemaker they say will replace the electronic versions currently being used. Each year, some 300,000 Americans receive a pacemaker to correct irregular heartbeats. The traditional device requires new batteries every 5 to 8 years. The goal, researchers say, is to advance medical technology to the point where patients no longer need repeat surgeries. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
Casting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
Here we go. All right, folks, joining us once again, former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee and former Republican congressman from Michigan, and now, of course, with his involvement with Lignet. And by the way, for in-depth analysis and forecasting on the downed Malaysian airliner, go to lignet.com. And Congressman, thanks for sticking around. Let's move over to the Middle East now. And Israel dropped leaflets in, I think, 14 towns in Gaza, warning people to get out. And today they showed why they did that. They have launched their ground invasion. Do you believe that that they used in some way, and it's unfortunate they have to do this, the downed Malaysian airliner as kind of media cover for them to do this, so that the focus wouldn't be on their invasion with the tote board of dead Palestinians?
No, I don't think so. I think what you're seeing is, to launch a kind of a ground attack into Gaza, you've got to have the planning, you've got to have everything in place. Clearly, the Israelis were planning on doing this. They felt it was necessary to protect their citizens, to keep Israel safe and secure. It's a coincidence that both of these things happened today.
All right, and what do you think will come out of this? I mean, this is something they went into Lebanon in a ground war as well, and never finished off Hezbollah. I would hope they would find a way to finish off Hamas, or at least the threat of Hamas, for many, many, many years to come. If that's going to be the case, they're going to be there for a long time, many, many days, with many, many tunnels and many, many people to go after, I would imagine. Yeah, they're going to be able to, deliver Hamas a significant setback. They will not eliminate the threat from Hamas. They will severely damage Hamas's capability, but ultimately the Israelis will pull back to their secure borders. They will move out of the Gaza,
and Hamas will reconstitute itself. The question will be, how long will that take? But again, here what you're seeing in Gaza and with the Israelis, the U.S. the president really not having a great relationship at all with the Israeli government, the U.S. not being trusted by the Israeli government and by the Israeli people anymore, the Palestinians, Hamas, and that saw that as an opportunity to challenge Israel. Events spin out of control, and now we've got this invasion by Israel. We've got the rockets coming into Israel. It's just one ugly mess, and that's whether you're talking about Ukraine, whether you're talking about Israel and Hamas, or whether you're talking about Libya or Iraq. Leading from behind does not work.
Yep. And Congressman, I just want to point out that CNN is reporting that U.S. officials are now confirming that they believe the plane, the Malaysian airliner, was shot down. I appreciate your time, Congressman, again, and for in-depth analysis again and forecasting on the downed Malaysian airliner, go to lignet.com. We'll be back with Dick Morris and our Road to the White House segment, but first, here's Dr. Chauncey Crandall to talk about cholesterol and food.
If you have high cholesterol, you probably think that taking a statin drug is the best way to lower it. After all, why wouldn't you? Statins are among the most prescribed drugs in the world. But although they are great medications to those who truly need them, other people can lower their cholesterol just by adding certain foods to their diet. Here are the 3 cholesterol-lowering foods that you'll find at your supermarket. Number 1 is oatmeal. Oatmeal is a potent cholesterol-lowering food because oats are a soluble fiber. This means that they absorb the excess cholesterol in your digestive system and carry it out of your body. In addition, oatmeal also helps prevent diabetes and cancer as well. In fact, research shows that eating oatmeal on a regular basis can be as effective as taking a statin. Second, choose salmon over beef and you'll be replacing a food packed with cholesterol-raising saturated fat with one rich in monounsaturated fat. This is the type of good fat that makes salmon taste fattening, but it's not. Salmon is also packed with omega-3 fatty acids, which lower triglycerides, another dangerous blood fat. Third, if it's mid-afternoon and you're craving a snack, grab a handful of almonds. Eating almonds every day lowers your bad LDL cholesterol by about 9%. Almonds are also packed with other vitamins as well, but the best thing about almonds is that they don't taste like a health food. Almonds contain no cholesterol and are also packed with healthy monounsaturated oils. Since most of you are already reading my book, The Simple Heart Cure, I want you to go to chapter 11, in which I tell you about foods that can help you lower your cholesterol. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Health Minute. I'll see you next time.
Get your copy of Dr. Crandall's best-selling book, The Simple Heart Cure, for just $4.95 with this special offer. Go to www.simpleheartbook.com to get your copy today. That's simpleheartbook.com.
Eligible for Medicare? That's a good thing. But it doesn't cover everything. Only about 80% of your Part B medical expenses. The rest is up to you. So consider an AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan, insured by United Healthcare Insurance Company. Like all standardized Medicare supplement insurance plans, they pick up some of what Medicare doesn't pay and could save you in out-of-pocket medical costs. Call today to request a free decision guide to help you better understand what Medicare is all about and which AARP Medicare supplement plan works best for you. With these types of plans, you'll be able to visit any doctor or hospital that accepts Medicare patients. Plus, there are no networks and virtually no referrals needed. There's a range of plans to choose from too, and they all travel with you, anywhere in the country. Join the millions who have already enrolled in the only Medicare supplement insurance plans endorsed by AARP, an organization serving the needs of people 50 and over for generations, and provided by United Healthcare Insurance Company. which has over 30 years of experience. Medicare supplement insurance helps cover some of what Medicare doesn't pay. Expenses that could really add up. These kinds of plans could save you in out-of-pocket medical costs. You'll be able to choose any doctor who accepts Medicare patients, and there are virtually no referrals needed. So don't wait. With all the good years ahead, look for the experience and commitment to go the distance with you. Call now to request your free decision guide. This easy-to-understand guide will answer some of your questions and help you find the AARP Medicare supplement plan that's right for you.
Almighty God, our sons, pride of our nation, this day have set upon a mighty endeavor, a struggle to preserve our republic. Some will never return. With thy blessing, we shall prevail over the unholy forces of our enemy. Thy will be done, Almighty God. Amen.
Look, I think Americans are deeply frustrated that Washington is broken. And I think it's a bipartisan problem. I mean, I think the biggest divide we have is not between Republicans and Democrats. It is between entrenched politicians in both parties in Washington and the American people.
Oh, sure. All right, folks, there he is, Senator Ted Cruz, in a relaxed manner on what was The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. And joining us now on the road to the White House as we look at a possible Ted Cruz presidential run in 2016 is Dick Morris, Newsmax contributor and political consultant. Hello, sir.
Hey, Steve. Good to be on the show.
Well, it's great to have you, and thanks for coming on and making the time. I know you're busy with your radio show in Philadelphia, and I really love talking to you. And nobody better to talk about Ted Cruz with than you. So, you know, we saw a relaxed Ted Cruz there. He got a lot of laughs from the audience at the time. First of all, do you think that Ted Cruz will eventually wind up throwing his hat in the ring?
Yeah, I do. But before we go further on Ted, I just need to tell you that he's a former client. I helped him in his initial election for the Senate in 2010. We used to meet furtively in hotel rooms in Houston to work on his campaign. Ted, I think, will run, and I think he will be the candidate of the non-establishment Republican Party. In other words, the way I always see presidential nominating processes is a little bit like Wimbledon or the U.S. Open in tennis. You have the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the finals. And the quarterfinals in the Republican primary are over here on the right, the movement conservatives, evangelicals, free market movement people fighting it out for that nomination. And over here in the center, you have the mainstream Republican major money people fighting it out for that nomination. And then the two of them oppose each other in the ultimate runoff. So, for example, in this last election, you had Santorum, who emerged as the candidate of the grassroots, and you had Romney, who emerged as the candidate of the mainstream. Now, in this year's handicapping, I think in the grassroots court, you're going to have Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, and maybe Marco Rubio, and maybe Scott Walker, and maybe a few others. Jindal, others could jump in. But I think the main contestants are going to be Cruz, Paul, and Walker and Rubio, those four. And I think that there will be a focus on who the Tea Party and the people that are evangelicals and the enthusiastic, hard-working grassroots of the party support. And I think right now Cruz is ahead for that. I think there is no strong evangelical candidate. It's possible Huckabee gets in. It's possible Santorum gets in. But lacking that, it really is the Tea Party movement that will dominate it, and Cruz is their darling. In the meantime, of course, you have the center court, where Chris Christie and maybe Jeb Bush and maybe even Mitt Romney and possibly Marco Rubio could be the switcher, Paul Ryan. They're going to duke it out in the mainstream court.
Very, very interesting scenario indeed. And let's talk about Ted Cruz and some of the obstacles he might face. And one, you know, he was largely blamed, and I guess this is in a broader sense. I mean, I don't think this will harm him in a Republican primary. But you know, when John Boehner blasted Ted Cruz almost as in the same way that Congressman Peter King has blasted Ted Cruz by saying that they made me shut down the government. I think that was a big blunder on the part of Boehner. But Ted Cruz in a general election, I mean, would be viewed and lambasted by the media for having shut down the government, would he not?
Well, yeah, I think that that'll be the charge. And I don't think the charge per se will be hurtful in a Republican primary, but it will feed the issue of electability. Republicans realize that we probably made a mistake in nominating Romney last time because he lost so badly with everything going for him. And I think that there'll be a reluctance to make a mistake again. On the other hand, there is increasing evidence that what Cruz just said in that soundbite is absolutely accurate. I mean, I could sit down with an Elizabeth Warren supporter and a Ted Cruz supporter and find huge areas of commonality on NSA spying, on the Wall Street subsidies, on the big banks, the too big to fail. And if you look at the possibility of maybe a financial meltdown between now and the election, which a lot of people are saying is very possible, that kind of populist rhetoric, whether coming from the left or the right, could be very effective. And with the establishment of both parties in such disrepair and disregard, an insurgent from either party could have a chance to win in November.
And interesting, let me ask you this before we go any further, since you did reveal that you worked with him and had many a meeting with him in Houston hotel rooms. This Canadian citizenship question, which keeps popping up, especially with the local
always with a witness,
heads.
By the way.
What's that?
Always with a witness.
It's always good to be safe. So what about this Canadian citizenship? You know, the media is bringing it up every so often, and they haven't in a while because it hasn't been serious presidential candidacy talk.
I thought he renounced that, didn't he?
Yeah, but it's where he was born and what his citizen. You know, I mean, is this going to be an issue at all? Do you think?
Well, no. As I understand it, he was. Well, I don't know the facts of it, so it could be. As I understand it, he came to the United States from Cuba with his parents in 1957 or 56, before Castro took over. And as I understand it, he's had dual citizenship, but renounced his Canadian citizenship. I don't think that's a big deal. In any case, he wasn't an unaccompanied minor, Steve.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother story. Let me ask you this: he is a huge supporter of Israel. He is a huge critic of Barack Obama's foreign policy. And one of the people you mentioned, Rand Paul, who I think will have a lot of support from a lot of people, is quite the opposite on supporting Israel, on intervening, on getting involved. And with the world blowing up around us as it is, do you think that's a plus within the Republican Party and primary season for Ted Cruz over Rand Paul? That Paul's isolationism against Cruz's, I won't say interventionism, but at least support for our allies?
Yeah, I think you're onto something. I think that will be an important factor. There was a Gallup poll out today that asked Americans, who do you sympathize with more, the Israelis or the Palestinians, kind of the ultimate head-to-head, and it was 50 for Israelis. I think there's strong support for Israel, and so he is forging an entirely new political movement. Not like the Tea Party, which pre-exists, where Cruz is kind of filling it in and kind of stepping into shoes that are already there. Rand Paul is really growing his own. and it's a libertarian combination of de-emphasize the war on drugs or eliminate it entirely, be much more conservative and less willing to commit American manpower in foreign situations, pull back a lot of the stuff we're doing in the war on terror, particularly in the NSA stuff, and be very reluctant to commit American forces. That's a charitable explanation of all of Paul's positions. The problem is that the Republican Party is a layer cake. One layer are the evangelicals, another layer are the free market economists, and the other layer are the national security hawks, like John McCain and Lindsey Graham. And those folks would never support Rand Paul, and I think that were he the candidate, it would be difficult. Bear in mind that Barack Obama is giving weakness a bad name.
But would they support Ted Cruz, McCain and Graham?
Yeah, I think that, oh yeah, sure they would. Sure they would. Ted Cruz is a strong hawk. And let's not ignore the fact that he is Latino, that he is Hispanic, that he does speak Spanish. And with the Republican Party's problems with Latino voters, that could be significant. And he comes from Texas. There's a big difference between California Latinos and Texas Latinos. Texas, Arizona, New Mexico Latinos are celebrated in the Tex-Mex culture, whereas in California they're much more sidetracked and seen as unwelcome immigrants. And I think that Cruz could do very well as a Republican in California with Latinos in a way that perhaps Rubio couldn't, because Florida is kind of isolated and not part of that construct.
Very interesting point. Dick, great to talk to you, sir. Thanks for making time for us today.
Good to talk to you, Steve.
Take care. Dick
Thanks
Morris,
a lot.
ladies and gentlemen, Newsmax contributor, political consultant, as we take a look at a possible presidential candidacy for one Senator Ted Cruz. And of course, you know, it certainly is Hispanic, but the media, he doesn't count in the media as being Hispanic because he's conservative. All right, Give Me Five is next. Don't go away.
Do you sleep too hot while your partner sleeps too cool? Do you struggle to sleep at the right temperature? Now Sleep Number has a solution that's as revolutionary as its beds. Introducing the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer. The amazing Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer allows both of you to select your ideal temperature for better sleep. The Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer works with any mattress brand. It features active air technology, which evenly distributes air to heat and cool each side to the temperature you prefer for head-to-toe comfort. Call or click now for this free $50 savings card and catalog.
My husband and I both prefer different temperatures. He likes to have his side of the bed a little bit warmer, and I like to have mine a little bit cooler, and we are finally sleeping better together.
After sleeping on a dual temp layer, I find that I have such a restful night's sleep that when I wake up in the morning, I am energized and I'm ready for the day.
All night long, you can each enjoy sleep at a temperature that perfectly matches what your body needs for comfortable sleep, so you can sleep better together. In a research study, 75% reported poor sleep because of their sleeping temperature. That's because your body's temperature naturally fluctuates at night. But with the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer, you can sleep comfortably warm or cool. And because the revolutionary Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer helps solve an important sleep problem, it was selected as a very innovative product by Good Housekeeping. Remember, the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer can be added to any mattress brand, so everyone can enjoy sleeping better at the perfect temperature. Call or click now.
Call 1-800-317-5283 or click now for a free $50 savings card and catalog with price list. For your peace of mind, the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer comes with a 100-night in-home trial. Call 1-800-317-5283 or click now. That's 1-800-317-5283 for your free $50 savings card and catalog.
Smile!
No matter how well you provide for your family today, if you don't have life insurance, their future may be at risk. Think about what would happen if you were gone. Would they struggle to pay the bills and face an uncertain future? They don't have to. You can help guarantee those you love $200,000, $500,000, $750,000 or more with life insurance through AIG Direct. We'll help you get more for your money, up to 70% more. Just look, less than $14 a month buys a 40-year-old man a $250,000 term life policy. That's up to 3 times what you can get from other companies for the same price. No wonder millions of people rely on AIG companies. The call is free, the quote is free, and there's no obligation. Make the future more secure for those you love. Call now so you can sleep better at night.
For a free quote, call 1-800-558-5246 or visit AIGdirect.com.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs, just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming your 80s cover band, Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
The looming crisis is clear. We can no longer stand around and say, it's not a problem. Don't worry about it.
This summer, from the makers of...
Together, we've begun to clean up the mess of the past. Pensions, health benefits, and debt service.
When you thought it was over.
We're in danger of having these costs overwhelm our budget.
It's back.
We need to fix this system or it will eat us alive.
Choosing to do what's hard. Choosing to do what is right by all of the people of this state.
How far would you go?
There is no other way to fix a severe problem like this but with pain.
Hang on to your seats.
All right, folks, welcome to Gimme 5. That was a video that the governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie, released to tout his ongoing speaking tour to talk about the budget and how tough he has been on the budget. But it mysteriously disappeared. It was pulled down, and when asked on CNN, his spokesman intimated that The Rock, the Hollywood star The Rock, it was too similar. There was some appearances in there, or flashes of The Rock, and they took it down. I don't know if that's been confirmed or not. But regardless, Chris Christie was on CNBC, and he was asked whether or not he's going to run for president. Watch.
No, you haven't decided, and if you had, I wouldn't expect you to announce it here, but...
That's good.
But knowing what you know right now, are you leaning toward it? Is that what are you thinking it's likely to happen?
This is another way of asking a question, isn't it?
Well, yes.
Are you leaning?
Right.
Yeah, it's another way to ask a question.
All right, and John Harwood, you know, is just, he's doing his job. And Christie, who was on CNBC last week, and we gave you this on the Gimme 5 last week, saying if a Republican, my advice to you Republicans is if you're asked a question, answer it. He then proceeded not to answer what he thought of the Hobby Lobby decision, because it was the day after Hobby Lobby. Now he's dancing around this question. You know what, for a guy who likes to speak his mind, and I'm all up front, and you know everything about me, you know, just answer the question. Be a little more decent, more.
No, I'm not leaning. I'm not leaning in any way because I'm not giving it a lot of thought at the moment. I'm chairman of the Republican Governors Association. My job is to elect as many Republican governors as I can. I don't have a 527 or a super PAC or a C4, all those things that.
But we're in the second half of 2014 now.
I'm aware.
And if you're going to do it, right.
Yeah, I got a calendar. He's so funny. And you know, Harwood wants more, and Christie keeps dancing.
Let's face it, the folks who are leaning or actually doing stuff right now are oftentimes folks who people don't know all that well. I suffer from a lot of things. That's not one of them. So I'm in no rush to make those decisions. I got a pretty busy day job as governor of New Jersey, and I've got a busy job politically as chairman of the RGA. We have 36 governors' races across the country.
All right, look, and he's getting a little better here. Now he says he knows when he'll make his decision.
When do you think you would have to decide?
Yeah, end of this year, beginning of next. Decide in my own head. Now, whether I would tell you or anyone else, at that point, I'm not so sure about the timing of that, and that's more of a political judgment than it is a core judgment about whether you really want to do that or not. But I've been pretty clear. I certainly am going to consider it, but whether I do it or not is something I honestly don't know yet. And I think, people say that all the time, and folks are fairly cynical about, oh, yeah, he knows what he's going to do.
I don't know how you could not know, to be honest with you, although in Christie's case, he has to see how Bridgegate plays out, and there are rumors of other investigations. He has to see how those play out. So maybe he's really telling the truth. But I got to tell you, this combative style on everything, it's not just this question. Hillary laughs when she's asked it. He gets combative, smart alecky. I don't think the combative, smart alecky style is going to fly around the country. And I don't think consistently it's going to fly because people are going to get sick and tired of it, as I am, as a resident of New Jersey. On the Steve Malzberg Show.
When Bob got into the accident, I was terrified. His injuries were so severe, but once we knew he was going to be okay, what then?
I couldn't go back to work for a long time, and we got way behind on our bills.
We had hired an attorney, but when our case kept dragging on, we didn't know how we were going to get by. Thankfully, our attorney knew about Oasis Legal Finance.
Oasis looked at our case and got us the money the very next day.
What a relief it was. We didn't have to wait until our case settled, and the money from Oasis helped us when we needed it most.
At first, I wasn't so sure. What if we lost the case? How would we be able to pay back Oasis? But then I found out if we did lose, we wouldn't have to pay them back, so there was no risk in doing it. No risk.
If you were involved in an accident and hired an attorney to fight for the compensation you deserve but need money now before your case settles, then call Oasis today. Oasis has given millions of dollars to people like you who need money fast while waiting for their case to settle. There's no risk, so call now.
I was hurt badly in a car accident just after my wife gave birth. We were counting on the cash from my lawsuit to get caught up, but the case took forever.
Honestly, we didn't know what we were going to do. Then we saw an Oasis TV commercial and called. We were approved and got money from Oasis the next day.
Not in a week, the very next day.
I was hurt at work and filed a workers' comp claim. I called Oasis and they gave me the cash I needed. Unfortunately, I ended up losing my case, but Oasis let us keep the money. They kept their promise and we didn't need to pay them back.
There are no out-of-pocket costs and no payments until your case is settled. If you lose your case, you don't have to repay Oasis. There's no risk. Call Oasis now to see how much money you can get before your case settles.
Call now, 1-800-562-8184. 1-800-562-8184. 1-800-562-8184.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. New reports say Israel has begun a ground invasion into the Gaza Strip today. Israeli defense forces say they are targeting underground tunnels that Hamas uses to transport weapons. The goal of the operation is to establish a reality in which the Israeli residents can live in safety and security without continuous terror. A temporary ceasefire lasted approximately 5 hours. And earlier today at approximately 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Malaysia Airlines MH17 crashed along the Russian border in the Ukraine. The airline took to social media and tweeted that they had lost contact with their plane. The plane is suspected to have been shot down by a surface-to-air missile while on its way to Amsterdam from Kuala Lumpur. Malaysia's flight MH17 was carrying 295 passengers. And Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko spoke from Kiev shortly after the plane crashed. Poroshenko called the downing of the Malaysian airliner an act of terrorism. The Ukrainian president is also calling for an international investigation. And this is the latest footage from that crash. All passengers on board are believed to be dead. The Associated Press is reporting that the plane began breaking apart before impact and says wreckage landed 25 miles from Russia. Meanwhile, the Ukraine is blaming pro-Russian separatists, and as one may imagine, rebel fighters are blaming Kiev. The U.S. State Department weighed in on this during a press conference today, addressing the issue of new U.S. sanctions.
The auto industry is booming. It was in a tailspin when we came in.
Also speaking today, the tragedy, President Obama. He says America's national security team is working with Kiev.
The auto industry is booming. It was in a tailspin when we came in.
The president also said the United States will offer any assistance necessary to the Ukrainian government. Reuters is reporting that there were at least 23 U.S. citizens on board. And President Obama also maybe touched the economy after addressing the Malaysian airline crash. Obama tried encouraging people about the economic recovery that the United States had to say this. That's an interesting claim to make considering the recent troubles facing General Motors, or some may have dubbed government motors. Earlier today, GM's top lawyer and CEO came under ceasefire when they testified at a Senate hearing. CEO Mary Barra says she is dedicated to solving her company's problems. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring you the latest on the crash of the Malaysian airline jet. UK London Telegraph is reporting that there were 23 Americans on board that flight, which was reportedly, according to U.S. officials, they now believe was struck by a missile. Ukraine believes that that missile came from Russian separatists. 295 people in all were killed on the Malaysian Airlines Boeing 777, which crashed along the Ukrainian-Russian border. The London Telegraph, in addition to reporting on 23 Americans on board that flight, are also saying that there are unconfirmed reports that a U.S. congressman may have been among the Americans on board that flight. That has not been independently confirmed. Neither have the numbers of Americans that have been killed in that flight. So we do not have independent by Israel. Israel pointing out that Hamas has violated 2 ceasefires, or did not sign on to one and violated the other one today, which was for humanitarian purposes, has attacked Israel through the air, through the sea, and through the ground. And now Israel has taken the next step and has gone into Gaza with ground forces after calling up 8,000 more reservists for a total of approximately 50,000. We will see how long that will last. We're going to talk all about this with Peter Brooks, who worked in the State Department and who is now international affairs expert at the Heritage Foundation. But before we talk to Peter, we're going to talk to Catherine Engelbrecht, founder and president of True the Vote. She's had her own saga going on. Now victimized by the IRS, suing the IRS, and still waiting for the FBI to talk to her in their supposed criminal investigation involving the IRS targeting of conservative groups. Let's first watch this testimony by the head of the FBI with regard to this whole issue. Then we'll go to Catherine.
And a great deal of work has been done by the FBI, but because it's pending, I can't talk about the particulars of the interviews we've done.
Have you interviewed more or less than 10 alleged victims?
I can't say, sir.
Well, you could say that has been the consistent answer of the administration. I can tell you the victims of the targeting keep telling us they haven't been interviewed.
All right, folks. As promised, we're now joined by Catherine Engelbrecht, founder and president of True the Vote, and of course her group, one of the targets of the IRS. Hello, Catherine.
Hello.
Good to talk to you again. So tell us what the latest is, because it is just inconceivable that even after the Attorney General testified that all these groups, have been interviewed by the FBI for the investigation, that you were not contacted by the FBI.
Well, it's ironic to me too. They seem to have no problem in the years previous, finding me when they needed me. But since this investigation has come open, There has been no direct contact with me. I will say that, there is all kinds of swirling dealings with lawyers in the background, and that's really what kind of broke free this week, is that finally it appeared that they did want to talk directly with True the Vote. And now, I tell you, hearing that lead-in clip, here's my concern, is that by putting it into a category of criminal investigation, they're going to be able to have a blanket, no comment answer for everything.
Explain that. Who's going to have the blanket, no comment answer for everything?
Well, and I will tell you that I may be getting out on a ledge here, not fully understanding all the legalities of it, but my general understanding is when you open a criminal investigation, all evidence becomes part of that investigation, and an iron curtain goes down where you can't see anything else. So the retrieval of emails, the answering of how many witnesses, anything is now going to be no comment under investigation.
All right,
and I just have to wonder if that's not the play.
Well, it may be. Explain to the folks again, give us the little backgrounder on your group, True the Vote, what happened to you, and why the FBI would be talking to you, and why you want to talk to the FBI.
Sure. Well, True the Vote is a nonpartisan national voters' rights organization. We encourage citizens to get involved in elections. We help provide training for poll watchers and work in states where there have been known to be problematic elections and try to get people effectively involved. That said, we filed our nonprofit application to be a 501c3, which is just the status of a nonprofit, back in July of 2010. And in a process that normally takes 4 to 6 months to get approved, we waited almost 3.5 years, finally resulting in our suing the IRS to get them to give us an up or down on our accreditation. Now, during that 3.5 years is really where the story is, because I was asked upwards of 300 questions by the IRS, questions like, we want to see every Facebook posting you've ever posted, every tweet you've ever tweeted. We want to know everywhere you've ever spoken since the inception of the organization, and to whom and what you said and where you're going to speak for the next year, and do you ever have any intention of running for political office, and the things that went so far beyond the pale of what should have been the interests of the IRS as it relates to a nonprofit operation, that it begged question. But in addition to that, I was contacted on 5 separate occasions by the FBI Domestic Terrorism Unit. OSHA came to our private business. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms came to our private business. All of these things were happening, and on the IRS side, we were audited both personally and in our private business for 2 straight years.
And this all because of your application?
Well, and it's hard to tell, but what I will say is we had been in business to that point 16, 17 years. Prior to our filing or my filing of that nonprofit application, there had never been a single instance of a government entity investigating, auditing, inquiring about us. After I filed that application, it has been an alphabet soup of federal agencies that have come to my doorstep, and there has to be a triggering event. The statistical probability that all these groups would just find their way in such rapid succession, given the political environment that we're all in, it just doesn't wash.
All right. Now, before I ask you the next question, what did the terrorism unit of the FBI want from you?
Oh, well, at the time they said that they were interested in someone who was coming to one of our meetings, and our meetings were open to the public, and all we could tell them was, we don't have a membership list.
Right.
If he was here, we don't know.
Right.
When I finally FOIA'd for documents from the FBI to ask what they showed on us, their files indicate that they were doing community outreach. So I guess that's very comforting that the Domestic Terrorism Unit, is so heavily involved in community outreach.
All right. So you've explained to the folks and to us we're up to a certain point, but you're now involved in the lawsuit, and explain also why now you want the FBI to talk to you.
Well, the lawsuit that we got involved in a little bit more than a year ago was to finally compel the IRS, which a court can do, to give us an up or down on our 501c3 status. Additionally, we believe that there were individuals involved in intentional obfuscation of all of this, of the completion of our application, and that's, we were on the road to filing before it ever broke that there was in fact targeting. Before Lois Lerner ever spilled the beans, we were on our way to preparing a lawsuit because of our experience. That lawsuit rages on, and in fact, we're hopeful that tomorrow we will hear from a judge on our most recent filing, which was to ask that the court compel the IRS to allow an independent forensic team to come in and try to recover these emails that seem to be irrecoverable in the mind of the IRS. So that's kind of where that lawsuit is, and we hope that there'll be big news tomorrow.
And the FBI is involved in this criminal investigation being conducted by the Justice Department, correct?
Correct. Correct. And I will tell you, I know absolutely nothing about it, except to say that, I have been asked for well over a year now if the FBI has contacted us, and not directly to True the Vote, and not that, to the best of my knowledge, to the 161 other groups, there has not been any direct FBI outreach. I have to believe that it's tied somehow to the congressional testimonies that are being given right now. And we never really had any compunction about, sharing the story. My word, I've told the story, listen to any number of my interviews. I've told the story over and over.
Well, I mean, you were on with me in November, last November, in Florida.
Yeah. And I don't have anything else to offer. I mean, it's to them now to do the investigation.
Unbelievable.
But what I hope is that we're not. What I hope is that we're not falling into a tiger trap. And hearing the guy that was on the witness stand when you played the clip, whoever that was.
That was Comey, yeah.
You're saying, I can't tell you how many people we've talked to because it's under investigation.
Well,
That's very troubling.
The woman running the investigation for the Justice Department supposedly is a big Obama contributor, and you combine that with the revelation, the reports of these tweets by this woman April Sands, who worked at the FEC and worked once for Lois Lerner in another department, and was accused of violating the Hatch Act, tweeting out things like, "I don't understand how anyone but straight white men could vote Republican." And her hard drive also got screwed up. I mean, it's hard to believe this is going on.
I had a forensic scientist tell me recently, he likened the probability of, I think it's now 6 individuals whose servers, spontaneously failed during a period of time. Right. He said the likelihood of that is less probable than the likelihood that you would win the Powerball lottery and be struck by lightning on the same day.
Catherine, we got to go. Thank you very much, and let us know when the FBI knocks on your door. Catherine Engelbrecht, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, founder and president of True the Vote. Up next, former CIA officer Peter Brooks on the downing of the Malaysian airplane.
I'm at St. Jude because I had a cancer inside of me. They diagnosed me with a brain tumor. You have to be strong and don't give up. Attitude is everything. You have to fight.
Imagine your doctor tells you your child has cancer with only months to live. Where would you go? What would you do? Who would you turn to? Fortunately, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is fighting every day to save children's lives. And with a gift of just $19 a month, you can join the fight.
This is my kid that they're giving back to me. I am so grateful.
At St. Jude, no family ever receives a bill. In fact, no family pays St. Jude for anything. That's why your gift of $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, is so important.
When I thought that I might lose my son, they gave me hope.
You are not only saving a child's life, you're breathing life back into that family.
If I hadn't have come here, I wouldn't have my son.
St. Jude's life-saving research and treatment is shared freely with hospitals around the world.
St. Jude gives you hope and happiness. They're helping us live. Maybe in the future, kids won't have to go through this. We'll find a cure and it'll all be over.
Please, call and become a St. Jude Partner in Hope right now.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Politics, commentary, entertainment, sports, news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, back to the developing news. It's been developing and breaking over the course of this show. First story, the downing of Malaysian Airlines 777 with 295 people aboard. Reportedly now, there are reported to have been 23 Americans, and there's a report in a British newspaper, unconfirmed, as is the number of Americans, that a U.S. congressman may have been on that flight. Joining us now is Peter Brooks, former CIA officer and senior fellow on national security affairs at the Heritage Foundation. Peter, crazy day. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
Well, let me ask you, we now have confirmation from our government. Joe Biden and others, unnamed, have confirmed that this plane was shot down. And now we have, I don't know if you've heard the latest, reports that Vladimir Putin is blaming Kiev, saying it's Kiev's fault for not halting attacks on the rebels, which to me is basically a tacit acknowledgement and a roundabout way of saying, yeah, the rebels shot him down, but they had good reason to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a terrible tragedy, obviously, at a human level. But the fact is the geopolitics are even more complicated now. I think the U.S. intelligence probably has a pretty good idea of what happened. They're just not sharing it with us yet. My sense, it probably was a Russian surface-to-air missile, probably operating out of Ukraine. The big question for me, Steve, right now, obviously, other than the terrible human tragedy, is what role did Moscow have in this? Did they approve the movement of this surface-to-air missile battery, if that's what happened? Did they support this policy, or was this a rogue commander that moved across the border and was fighting with the rebels? So there's still a lot to learn, but it certainly makes the geopolitics of it much more serious than it was previously.
Well, let me ask you, let me play devil's advocate. If Russia was eventually going to deny any role whatsoever, that they, we don't know how they got this missile battery. It was moved, giving an excuse for the actual firing of the rocket. You made them do it, kind of thing. I mean, why would he go there to soften it up in the first place, and then come back and say they stole the rocket launcher, we never gave it to them? I just can't. I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate. Wouldn't seem to make sense.
Sure. I think Steve, if I put on my my public relations crisis hat, my sense is that he's looking for time and space to come up with a story.
Yeah.
Of course we don't know all the facts yet, okay? But if we're assuming that Russia had something to do with it, it was a Russian surface-to-air missile battery. What he wants to do is he wants to push people back on their heels until they get their act together. The fact of the matter is, my belief is, Steve, is that U.S. intelligence will run this to the ground pretty quickly, and we'll probably know a lot more, obviously, in the morning tomorrow about this. And I think it may be very difficult for the Russians to be able to deny it at all.
What would the geopolitical ramifications be? I mean, if this was a Russian, rocket and a Russian battery, and whether it was a rogue commander or not, if the Russians, if they have this Russian equipment, either Putin says we're going to take all that back, this will never happen again, or he keeps saying, well, they made him do it. How does the United States respond? Because reportedly, Putin spoke to Obama about this earlier in the day while talking about the sanctions that were imposed yesterday on the telephone, leading the president to come out before an event today and say this looks like it's going to be turned into a real tragedy. But he had spoken to Putin, so I'm a little confused here. What are going to be the penalty for Russia to pay on this?
Well, my sense is that, and I don't know this because we don't know what happened in that conversation or what went on in the White House, but my sense is that the president put these additional sanctions on Russia because they knew of the movement of this more advanced equipment. And I'm not very surprised by it because the air war in eastern Ukraine has been stepped up. We've seen a Ukrainian aircraft shot down. There was a report of a bombing, and dropping gravity bombs on a building in a town in eastern Ukraine, and people were pointing fingers at one another, saying it was the Russians, saying it was the Ukrainians. So the air war has stepped up, and this would be part of that. And my sense is that the president believed that Putin wasn't playing by the rules or the agreement he made, and that's the reason he stepped up the sanctions. Now, I'm not sure of that. I guess we'll know that in the coming days. But yeah, the United States, depending on, how this thing turns out, the United States, I think, needs to exert some international leadership and crack down on the Russians further with European partners and others. I think this is probably a horrible mistake. I can't believe that anybody would shoot an airliner like this, that are involved in this conflict. I think it's going to turn out to be like we've seen in the past with the KAL-007, with the Russian aircraft, and the American airliner. I think it's going to be a terrible situation. In fact, there's some reporting out there in social media that these guys thought they shot down a Ukrainian transport plane.
Right, yeah, there's some reports that that the plane wasn't in the airspace, the passenger jet wasn't in the airspace when it was supposed to be. So that sets up the MO for claiming that it was a mistaken identity. Now, with 23 Americans reportedly, not confirmed, aboard, and reportedly, possibly, according to one a British newspaper, a U.S. congressman and other people of other nationalities, several countries, the international pressure to do something is going to be immense.
I agree with you, and hopefully that sort of pressure will lead the sides to bring this conflict in eastern Ukraine to a quick resolution. That's hopefully what will happen here. This is an unnecessary conflict. It's Russian aggression. I doubt we'll see a change to what has happened in Crimea, but I think that maybe Putin will come to his senses and stop these undertaking in eastern Ukraine by supporting these rebels, especially with these very, very sophisticated and capable weapon systems.
Yeah, very, very frightening. Do you have a few more minutes to stick or no?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, no, because I do want to get in I do want to talk about the Gaza incursion and get your take on that. A lot of news happening, of course, today. So stay where you are. We're talking to Peter Brooks, ladies and gentlemen, Security Affairs at the Heritage Foundation. So we brought you the latest on the downed Malaysian Boeing 777. I would like to get his take on Israel's ground invasion of the Gaza Strip just about an hour or two ago. All that developing as we speak. We'll get Peter's take on it. When we come back, we'll be back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show. Don't go away. Busy news day, and we're covering it all for you right here, only on Newsmax Television.
I've got a small business, and everybody said you should be promoting it with Facebook.
Well, I use Facebook for myself, but I had no idea how to use it for my plumbing business.
Then I heard about web.com.
They told me they would build a professional Facebook page for my business free.
So I gave them a call.
And then they built me a Facebook page for free. I couldn't believe it.
If you call web.com now, you can have a new Facebook page built for your small business free. We even write posts for your Facebook page that will get people talking about you.
It's like I have this whole big social media department for my business.
Call now and web.com will build your new Facebook page free. Then we'll continue to bring you new fans, write posts for you, and report on results, all for one low monthly fee. If not, cancel and pay nothing.
Now people call me and say, I found you on Facebook. How cool is that?
You say it, we build it free.
Call 1-855-235-7998 today.
Do you sleep too hot while your partner sleeps too cool? Do you struggle to sleep at the right temperature? Now Sleep Number has a solution that's as revolutionary as its beds. Introducing the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer. The amazing Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer allows both of you to select your ideal temperature for better sleep. The Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer works with any mattress brand. It features Active Air technology, which evenly distributes air to heat and cool each side to the temperature you prefer for head-to-toe comfort. Call or click now for this free $50 savings card and catalog.
My husband and I both prefer different temperatures. He likes to have his side of the bed a little bit warmer, and I like to have mine a little bit cooler, and we are finally sleeping better together.
After sleeping on a dual temp layer, I find that I have such a restful night's sleep that when I wake up in the morning, I am energized and I'm ready for the day.
All night long, you can each enjoy sleep at a temperature that perfectly matches what your body needs for comfortable sleep, so you can sleep better together. In a research study, 75% reported poor sleep because of their sleeping temperature. That's because your body's temperature naturally fluctuates at night. But with the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer, you can sleep comfortably warm or cool. And because the revolutionary Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer helps solve an important sleep problem, it was selected as a very innovative product by Good Housekeeping. Remember, the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer can be added to any mattress brand, so everyone can enjoy sleeping better at the perfect temperature. Call or click now.
Call 1-800-317-5283 or click now for a free $50 savings card and catalog with price list. For your peace of mind, the Sleep Number Dual Temp Layer comes with a 100-night in-home trial. Call 1-800-317-5283 or click now. That's 1-800-317-5283 for your free $50 savings card and catalog.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. Streets throughout Jersey City will be shut down today and tomorrow in honor of a slain New Jersey police officer. 23-year-old Melvin Santiago was shot in the head when he responded to a robbery at a 24-hour pharmacy. Family members, the police department, and an entire community at large are mourning Santiago's death at his wake tomorrow. Tomorrow, the Jersey City Police Department will march down the street where he was gunned down before the burial. Meanwhile, police are on high alert as gangs threaten to kill more cops in New Jersey. According to the New York Post, the infamous gang, the Bloods, have vowed to kill New Jersey police officers and not stop until the National Guard is called out. A memorial for the cop killer featuring balloons, candles, and empty liquor bottles was erected shortly after his death. Messages read, "Rest easy and thug in peace." His wife said her husband should have killed more cops. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, folks, welcome back. Continuing our conversation with Peter Brooks, former CIA officer, senior fellow of national security affairs at the Heritage Foundation. In the last segment, we talked about the latest involving the downing of the Malaysian airline, and now, of course, the incursion by Israel into the Gaza Strip. And Peter, thanks for sticking around. Your take on this, Israel claiming, and rightfully so, that Hamas has attacked them through the air, through the sea, and has not agreed to one ceasefire, broke another ceasefire today, and the time had come.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame it's come to this, but I think Israel's got to do what it needs to do to maintain its national security. I'll be interested to see, Steve, and I don't know what you're hearing about, what their objective is here. Obviously, when these situations in the past, and we've seen far too many.
Yeah, go ahead, Peter. We're just having a little trouble hearing you with the phone quality, but go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, because you're going to tape. You're taping?
No, we're not taping, but we're having a little trouble hearing you.
Okay.
That's much better. That's much better. Go ahead.
All right. Anyway, it's unfortunately this is happened. In the past we've had these situations, and historically it seems to me when Israel has to undertake a ground offensive, that they end up being in there for a long time. So that would be certainly unfortunate. So I'm wondering if there's more limited objectives this time. I don't know what you're hearing, Steve, in terms of maybe dealing with the tunnels. Because of the most recent situation where it looked like there was going to be a plot involving tunnels coming out of the Gaza Strip, perhaps to kidnap soldiers.
Yeah, no, Peter, that's exactly right. They said they foiled an attempt of a plot to attack Israel through one of the tunnels, and maybe that was the straw that broke the back. Hamas has shown no interest in toning it down, so I guess doing the 2 segments. I look forward to speaking to you again, sir. Thank you. Peter Brooks, ladies and gentlemen, at the Heritage Foundation. So that is what's going on, and Israel wants to make sure that everybody knows that this is an incursion, not an invasion. I don't know who was calling it an invasion, but that's one of the things that one of the spokespeople has recently said, and the Prime Minister saying that he's instructed the military to begin the ground offensive. And you know, you got to look at it this way, that Hamas has been just defiant, rejecting a ceasefire. And then today, at the behest of the UN, Israel observing a 5-hour ceasefire for humanitarian purposes earlier today, and Hamas broke that after 2 or 3 hours, firing 10 rockets from the Gaza Strip into Israel. So, you know, it looks like Hamas wanted this, certainly, was given ample opportunity to avoid this over the course of the 10 days where Israel struck from the air. We'll be back with the Executive Director of the Republican Jewish Coalition, Matthew Brooks, when we come back with the Steve Malzberg Show. But first, we're going to bring you this hour's American Moment, and we're going to take a look at the lives and accomplishments of the Wright brothers. Don't go away.
December 17, 1903, was a calm day at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, when 2 brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright, readied their aircraft for a demonstration that would change history forever. Their initial flight only lasted for 120 feet, but it was enough to eventually pave a pathway to the stars. Although the brothers were not the first to build and fly experimental aircraft, they were the first ones to invent the mechanical controls that made fixed-wing, powered flight possible. But that proved both a blessing and a curse to an industry in its infancy. The Wright brothers' practice of demanding excessive fees for use of their patents and their litigious nature had an immediate and negative effect on the growth, safety, and improvement of the new industry of aviation. In 1917, Congress, recognizing air power would play a vital role in the upcoming war, passed legislation which, in effect, reduced the Wright brothers' royalty of $1,000 per plane to $200. The reduced fees sparked an explosion of growth and innovation in the new industry. Although initially outraged, the Wright family quickly realized the lower fees made it possible for more airplane manufacturers to enter the field. With more manufacturers came more planes, and with more planes came more royalties. Soon after, their royalties had exceeded $2 million in an age before income tax. Soon America was leading the air revolution. In 1927, young aviator Charles Lindbergh departed New York's Roosevelt Field for a 3,600-mile, 33-and-a-half-hour transatlantic journey to Le Bourget Field in Paris, France. The dream of the Wright brothers had become a reality, and America had led the way thanks to Orville and Wilbur Wright. For Newsmax TV, I'm Bill Curtis, and this is an American Moment.
I'm only in my 60s. I've got a nice long life ahead, big plans. So when I found out Medicare doesn't pay all my medical expenses, I looked at my options. Then I got a Medicare supplement insurance plan.
If you're eligible for Medicare, you may know it only covers about 80% of your Part B medical expenses. The rest is up to you. Call now and find out about an AARP Medicare supplement insurance plan insured by United Healthcare Insurance Company. Like all standardized Medicare supplement insurance plans, it helps pick up some of what Medicare doesn't pay and could save you in out-of-pocket medical costs.
To me, relationships matter. I've been with my doctor for 12 years. Now I know I'll be able to stick with them.
With these types of plans, you'll be able to visit any doctor or hospital that accepts Medicare patients. Plus, there are no networks and virtually no referrals needed. So don't wait. Call now and request this free decision guide to help you better understand Medicare and which AARP Medicare supplement plan might be best for you. There's a wide range to choose from.
We love to travel, and there's so much more to see. So we found a plan that can travel with us anywhere in the country.
Join the millions of people who have already enrolled in the only Medicare supplement insurance plans endorsed by AARP, an organization serving the needs of people 50 and over for generations. Remember, all Medicare supplement insurance plans help cover what Medicare doesn't pay and could save you in out-of-pocket medical costs. Call now to request your free decision guide and learn more about the kinds of plans that will be here for you now and down the road.
I have a lifetime of experience, so I know how important that is.
My name is J.D. Hayworth, and I'm employed as anchor analyst at Newsmax TV. As a free people, as Americans, there can be a unity of purpose, but it's not always unanimous. I believe what we have a chance to offer is a key choice. If you want a perspective, independent, American, original, free, it'll be here at Newsmax TV.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
Your friend Vin Weber said this was an earthquake that nobody thought you would lose. And watching you on election night, you certainly looked stunned. Did this completely shock you?
Absolutely, Jonathan. I don't think anybody in the country thought that the outcome would be what it was.
All right, folks. Remember Eric Cantor's big primary defeat? It seems ages ago, but it wasn't that long ago. And we're joined now by Matthew Brooks, Executive Director of the Republican Jewish Coalition. Hey, Matthew.
Hey, Steve. How you doing?
Good, good. Thank you. Well, a big story in the New York Times, and your organization prominently featured for a response to the fact that front page, as a matter of fact, New York Times, that after Eric Cantor, you know, unless another one is elected in November, there will be no Jewish Republicans in the House or the Senate. Is this really a reason for concern?
Well, I mean, it's obviously we would love to have more Jewish Republicans serving in the House and the Senate, and we're working very hard to make sure that a number of terrific candidates who are Jewish and Republican who are running this time, including two great candidates in New York with Bruce Blakeman and Lee Zeldin, and in California with Ilan Carr and others are Micah Edmonds in Virginia, and Adam Quasman and we're obviously disappointed by the loss of Eric Cantor, who was a terrific leader and a great ambassador to the Jewish community on behalf of the Republican Party. In terms of the impact that it's going to have policy-wise, I'm confident that unlike the Democrats, we have 234 Republican members. I would say 230 of them are about as strong and solid on the issues that we care about as Eric Cantor was. And it's a testament to Eric's leadership over the years to help educate his colleagues. But there's no question that the Republicans in the House and in the Senate are going to remain resolute and steadfast on issues like preventing Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon and standing shoulder to shoulder with Israel in this time of crisis and the other issues that the Jewish community worries about.
Yeah, I got to say, it is a great testament to Eric Cantor, but it's also a great testament to the fact that Republicans have become the party that stands for Israel. I mean, we have a president, and his Democratic cohorts in the House and Senate. I don't see them up in arms and outraged over the treatment of the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, by this administration. The comments made. I haven't seen the Democrats, the Jewish Democrats in the House or Senate, hold a press conference and say, we must stop supporting Hamas with our finances, with taxpayer money, as part of a unity government with the Palestinians. I mean, so, maybe if you had a whole Congress, a whole House or Senate full of Jews, if they're Democrats, it seems like it doesn't really matter.
Well, I think that's a great point, and it's very clear that when the chips are down, it's been the Republicans, quite frankly, who have been the most willing to go to bat and to stand up. And by the way, on critical issues, I mean, it's the Republicans who continue to push for enhanced sanctions on Iran, especially as every day they go through this process of dragging out these negotiations in Vienna. Is one day that they keep getting closer and closer to acquiring the capability for a nuclear weapon. And it's the Republicans who are pushing for that. It's the Democrats in the House, and it's Harry Reid in the Senate who are blocking it in order to support President Obama. But, there's other instances, too, where the Jewish Democrats have failed to stand shoulder to shoulder with the Republicans and lead, and that's on issues like support for Chuck Hagel as Secretary of Defense, in which almost every Republican was unified in opposition. And quite simply, if guys like Chuck Schumer and others had stepped up and I think really represented the interests of the Jewish community, Chuck Hagel wouldn't have been confirmed.
A poll that I cited yesterday, and this goes beyond, a Republican elected official in the House or the Senate. This speaks to members of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, and support.
The Pew Research poll.
Yeah, support for Israel, showing that since the hostilities have broken out here, since the last time they polled, support for Israel versus support for the Palestinians, Republicans have increased. It's like something around 70% or 70 and change. 77.
Yeah,
okay,
77.
That's significant. And Democrats, if I have my memory right, 46 or so percent support for Israel.
Below 48.
Yeah,
48. Below 50%.
Yeah, and what is that? I mean, what has happened to this party?
Well, again, and I don't take comfort in this, and as much as I am a partisan, I fundamentally believe that the Jewish community in America actually is better off having strong bipartisan support for Israel. So these numbers trouble me greatly and disappoint me, in terms of the erosion of support that we're seeing within the Democratic Party. If you remember, Steve, in Charlotte during the Democratic convention, what we witnessed there should have the hair on the back of everybody's neck stand up. I mean, literally they forgot to include or chose not to include recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of the Democratic Party, and correctly so. There was an uproar, and then if you remember, they tried to insert it back. It was voted down on the floor, and there were actually boos and jeers by the rank-and-file Democrats about recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel.
It was a voice vote, and in the face of the response of that voice vote, which was negative, the man, I forget who it was on the stage at the time, the podium at the time, said it passed, and people started booing. Yeah, that was some spectacle, absolutely. But unfortunately, and I don't take any comfort in saying this either as a Jewish American Jew. Still, Obama and the Democrats continue to get this unwavering Jewish support.
Well, I wouldn't say it's unwavering. I'd say it's one of the things that people lose sight of is that Republicans have gained market share from Jewish voters in 5 of the last 6 national elections. In 1992, the Republicans under George H.W. Bush got 11% of the Jewish vote. Bob Dole got 16% of the Jewish vote. George Bush's first time running got 19%, then 24% in his reelect. John McCain was the one candidate in 2008 that lost some traction, went down to 22%. But the interesting thing is in 2012, a year when Republicans were getting wiped out across the board, we actually increased our share of the Jewish vote by almost 50%. Mitt Romney got 32% of the Jewish vote and had a huge increase. So Democrats, certainly a positive trend.
No, that is. You educated me. Let's go overseas for a second. And earlier in the show, I played some video of a synagogue outside of Paris, or in Paris. They were outside the synagogue. Protesters, whatever you want to call them, basically keeping inside fearful Jewish worshipers who were afraid to come out because of Europe and support for the Palestinians, shouting down, Israel. And, these people are supporting Hamas over Israel, and it's a great excuse for every anti-Semitic bigot in the world to come crawling out of the woodwork.
Yep, it is very, these are, perilous times. I mean, there's no question. It's you see all the constellation of incidences and data points that are happening over the, all across the globe, and if you start connecting the dots, it's a very troubling picture.
It is a very troubling picture. All right, so again, to summarize on this Eric Cantor, first of all, what do you think the future of Eric Cantor is?
Oh, I think Eric will have whatever he chooses to do. Eric is somebody who will have an impact, and I think the final chapter for Eric Cantor is far from written at this point.
All right, Matthew, I appreciate you coming on and talking about this, and we'll speak to you again, sir. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Matthew Brooks, ladies and gentlemen, Executive Director of the Republican Jewish Coalition. And, for the New York Times to put a story on the front page, Republican Jews alarmed at the prospect of a void in the House and Senate. I'm a Republican Jew, and as I indicated in my conversation with Matthew, I'm much more alarmed at the Jewish Democrats in the House and the Senate. I have much more confidence in the Republican Party with an elected Jewish official or not to have the interests of America, the interests of Israel, my interests as an American, my interests as a Jewish American at heart, and to act on that than I do Jewish Democrats for the most part in the House and Senate. I think this article was written to send a message to scare Republicans and to show the Republican Party as being somehow anti-Jewish, which is nothing could be further from the truth. I wish they'd do a big story here on the 40th anniversary approaching of Nixon's resignation of how Richard Nixon saved the state of Israel. That's right. That's right. Richard Nixon saved the state of Israel. Look it up. Read about it. Read about the airlift at the behest of Golda Meir when Israel was in dire straits and needed weapons immediately. And I think he was a Republican on the Steve Malzberg Show.
Pat Boone here with a word about bank safety. Do you think your money is safe in the bank? Don't bank on it. A generation ago, bank accounts felt secure and they paid interest. This encouraged the virtue of thrift and saving. But today, bank accounts pay virtually nothing, and they've shifted from low risk to high risk. For example, did you know your money deposited in most U.S. banks could be subject to limited withdrawal and even confiscation? Oh, yes. And that's just the first of 19 risks explained in a new white paper entitled Don't Bank on It. You still think your bank deposits are safe? You better get this vital new Don't Bank on It white paper now. Call the number on the screen or visit SwissAmerica.com, the gold standard. Learn how simple it is to become your own banker today.
I'm at St. Jude because I had a cancer inside of me. They diagnosed me with a brain tumor. You have to be strong and don't give up. Attitude is everything. You have to fight.
Imagine your doctor tells you your child has cancer with only months to live. Where would you go? What would you do? Who would you turn to? Fortunately, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is fighting every day to save children's lives. And with a gift of just $19 a month, you can join the fight.
This is my kid that they're giving back to me. I am so grateful.
At St. Jude, no family ever receives a bill. In fact, no family pays St. Jude for anything. That's why your gift of $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, is so important.
When I thought that I might lose my son, they gave me hope. You are not only saving a child's life, you're breathing life back into that family.
If I hadn't have come here, I wouldn't have my son.
St. Jude's life-saving research and treatment is shared freely with hospitals around the world.
St. Jude gives you hope and happiness. They're helping us live. maybe in the future, kids won't have to go through this. We'll find a cure and it'll all be over.
Please, call and become a St. Jude Partner in Hope right now.
Hi, I'm Ben Affleck. The only thing better than playing a hero in the movies is being a hero in real life. Like the 50,000 veterans who returned from Iraq and Afghanistan with devastating injuries. They are true heroes, and they're why I'm proud to support Paralyzed Veterans of America. For more than 60 years, Paralyzed Veterans of America has made a promise to never leave a fallen comrade behind. They make sure veterans with spinal cord injuries get the quality medical care, rehabilitation, and housing they need when they come home. They stay with our fallen heroes for the long term, offering counseling, job training, and support to help them regain the freedom and independence they fought so hard for, all at no cost to them. Our veterans fought for us. Let's fight for them. To learn more about how you can help, visit pva.org. That's pva.org. We will never leave a fallen comrade behind.
What I saw going to 112 countries is how important it is that we function in the United States, because people look to us. Our system has been the beacon for so many years. Like you were talking about before, guess what? People want to come here because they think they'll be safe, they'll have an opportunity, we have to manage it. That's why we need comprehensive immigration reform, which is something that
but it's our expectation. All right, folks, welcome to Gimme 5. Hillary Clinton with Jon Stewart. And talking about her role as Secretary of State, talking about foreign policy. You know, there are a lot of jokes in between because that's Jon Stewart. But very interesting. First of all, comprehensive immigration reform. This fallacy that if we pass comprehensive immigration reform, all our problems would be solved. In fact, in my view, it would open up the Pandora's box for our problems to just begin. But that's not going to solve what's going on at the border now. That's not going to solve that at all, even if it was passed tomorrow. We have laws on the books now the president won't enforce. So why would we expect him to enforce new laws that are passed? But here's more.
That's really why this book is something that I put my heart and soul into, because we can't practice diplomacy and define our foreign policy as leaders talking to leaders anymore, because that's not the way the world works. Exactly as you said. People are empowered from the bottom up.
People, he was talking about social media. People are empowered from the bottom up. So we can't conduct our foreign policy as leaders talking to leaders anymore? Really? Really? When the Green Movement took fold in Iran and they begged for Obama's support, a democratic movement in Iran, this president ignored them. Okay? That's the bottom up. And now all of a sudden we can't talk leader to leader? Really? That's going to be some radical change in foreign policy, let me tell you. Watch.
And what I found when I became Secretary of State is that so many people in the world, especially young people, they had no memory of the United States liberating Europe and Asia, beating the Nazis, fighting the Cold War and winning. That was just ancient history. They didn't know the sacrifices that we had made and the values that motivated us to do it. Right. We have not been telling our story very well. We do have a great story. We are not perfect by any means, but we have a great story about human freedom, human rights, human opportunity, and let's get back to telling it to ourselves first and foremost, and believing it about ourselves, and then taking that around the world. That's what we should be standing for.
Is that a shot at Obama? That lots of countries are exceptional? Lots of people think they're exceptional? Kerry, I'm uncomfortable with American exceptionalism, talking about American exceptionalism. A president who apologizes for America all over the world. Could Hillary be separating herself right there from Obama on the issue of American exceptionalism? I hope so. Next.
We did a much better job telling the world who we were back in the Cold War. It was a simpler job, to be fair. We had the Soviet Union, we had the United States. We had a big information effort. We sent talent. We sent all kinds of poets and novelists and rock stars. I remember when Václav Havel, the great dissident and the first president of the Czech Republic, told me that Lou Reed had been his inspiration. American culture, American ideas permeated the world.
Pavel took a walk on the wild side? He said, hey, babe, take a walk on the wild side. Anyway, Lou Reed. All right, what can I tell you? One more from Hillary on the way we now should be conducting our foreign policy and getting the message out.
We withdrew from the information arena. And look at what happened initially with Ukraine. Russian media was much more effective in sort of telling a story. It wasn't true, but they kept repeating it over and over again. So I think we have to get back to a consensus in our own country about who we are, what we stand for, and then get out there and, you know, tell that story.
Agree. But what Hillary thinks we stand for, what Hillary thinks of as who we are, you know, don't forget, she lumped us in with countries that don't give women all those rights when the Hobby Lobby decision came down. So I think Hillary's vision of who we are and what we stand for is a lot different than what you or I may think. On the Steve Malzberg Show.